456 Goddamn Religion. Sunnah and Suratun. Muhammad's despicable life, Allah's repulsive words. 6. A voice. Come out of Babylon, my people. Jeremiah 51 verse 45. We have endured a perilous journey. We have explored the dark recesses of a psychopath's soul, examined the sadistic mindset of Satan, seen the worst in human nature, and surveyed mankind's most heinous behavior. We have encountered demons, both real and imagined. On behalf of the billions of souls who have been and those who soon will be victimized by Islam, thank you for caring enough to endure the gauntlet. You are now among the relatively few who are uniquely prepared to protect the innocent from the guilty. So, have you the courage and compassion to engage to support Israel against Islam while attempting to mitigate the ongoing carnage? I suppose the answer to that question depends upon who you are and what you believe. Knowing that Islam is diabolical and deadly is better than not knowing, but knowledge alone won't save lives or make the world any safer, just as a pandemic will infect the virologist as readily as the crackhead across town. There is no denying that Islam is a death cult, as the religion is overtly devoted to annihilating humankind. There is no missing the fact that Muhammad was a mass-murdering terrorist and thief, a ruthless slave trader, as well 457 as a rapist and pedophile. And quite obviously, Allah is Satan doing a very poor job of pretending to be God. By any rational, linguistic, historical, or moral standard, the Quran is a worthless piece of trash. But unfortunately, we cannot simply dismiss them by tossing them aside because their plague has metastasized and spread around the globe, leaving everyone susceptible to its lethality. Should you have begun with snake and proceeded through satanic, submission, and slaughter, at this point in Sunnah and Suratun, you know that on October 7, 2023, the jihadist jackasses raping, abducting, murdering, and taunting Jews while shouting, Allahu Akbar, were Muslims. They were doing what their wannabe prophet, pretense of a god, an imaginary book demanded of them, too stupid to know that it was all untrue. And there are 2 billion more of them, now buttressed by nearly as many clueless progressives, all condemning Israel rather than accepting blame. One of the reasons that the original Prophet of Doom expanded from 900 pages to 4,000 in Goddamn Religion is to leave humankind without excuse. The truth is rationally irrefutable and pertinent, but heretofore, no one has been willing to say it bluntly and then prove it. Islam is a declaration of war against all mankind, beginning with a merciless and racist genocidal campaign against Jews which commenced 1,400 years ago and continues to this day. The religion is incompatible with human existence. And while that is more than sufficient to denounce Islam, isolate it and criminalize it, quarantining this diabolical plague, there is more to it than the extinction of humanity. It is an affront to God, replacing him with the adversary. It is overtly demeaning to women. It is financed by and perpetuates slavery. It is totalitarian and opposed to liberty. Islam is grotesquely immoral, providing sanction for rape, pedophilia, incest, polygamy, bestiality, physically wounding women, sexually mutilating children. 458. A patriarchal society, misogynism, terrorism, torture, assassination, mass murder, genocide, armed robbery, grand theft, lying, slander, disavowing promises, reneging on treaties, and the overall dumbing down and debasement of humankind. In an Islamic society, there is no freedom of speech or religion. An informed, valid, evidence-based, copiously documented, and completely rational and deserved criticism of the most despicable man, the worst book, the most deplorable God, and the most degrading religion ever conceived results in a death sentence. Considering that there are almost 2 billion people infected by this plague, it is almost beyond comprehension when we consider where Islam has taken us. The Muslim Lord speaks and acts as if he is Satan. Allah leads men astray, he steals, blinds, plots, terrorizes, and kills, then tortures. He is depicted interrogating and roasting the inhabitants of hell, a place created for his entertainment. Humans are turned on a spit and given fresh skin each time one burns off so that the torment might be eternal. Allah pours boiling water down their throats and makes them swallow pitch and thorns. This painful punishment isn't for the few but for almost everyone. Allah is a sadist. Muslims, by contrast, can slaughter others for the opportunity to enter Allah's brothel. It is said to feature low-hanging fruit, free-flowing wine, and virginal attendants to satiate carnal desires. Allah loves warriors, he craves death and destruction. He brags about his participation in terror, mass murder, the enslavement of women and children, and thievery. Allah claims booty is lawful and good. Unable to give Muslims a reason to live, he gave them a reason to die. And as evil as the Islamic God is, his non-prophet was worse. His life features demon possession, being suicidal, bearing false witness, offering hate speech, taking and presenting bribes, pedophilia, terrorism, thievery, capturing and trading slaves, incest, rape, torture, genocide, 459 warmongering, plagiarism, womanizing, sexism, well, you know the list. Muhammad was an egomaniacal schizophrenic psychopath. And in this regard, he and his God had a lot in common. Further, Allah and Muhammad prohibited all expressions of free will. They not only named their doctrine submission, but they have also sought to impose it on everyone. Allah determined who would burn in lust or roast in hell based upon a backrub, predestining all men and women to their fate. The theme of the Quran's last score of surahs is simply, submit and obey, perform and pay, fight and slay. It's no wonder Islam has bred hell on earth. Muslims are unable to rise above the depraved character of their prophet and God. Those who do are killed. With progressives hypocritically, ignorantly, and irrationally siding with Islam, the most anti-progressive doctrine on earth, and against Israel, a bastion of enlightenment and freedom in a dark and controlled world, and with the woke monopolizing academia, the media, and the United Nations, a lone voice, no matter how clear and bold, is drowned out by the echo chamber of ignorance and lies. So, while I have done my part, will you do yours and speak out before it's too late? I have systematically, comprehensively, contextually, and chronologically documented the evidence to expose and condemn the deadliest plague to ever assault humankind. Now it is your turn. Share what you have learned. Do so for your sake, the sake of those you love, your neighbors, the planet, and especially for God's people and place, Yehudim and Yisrael. It is the right thing to do, and this is the last possible opportunity to do so. With Joe Biden auditioning for the role of World War III's Neville Chamberlain, and with American diplomatic leverage serving as a Trojan horse, within the next few years, Islamic terrorists will be rewarded with a State 460 carved out of the heart of the Promised Land. With more weapons than sense, hundreds of thousands of Muslim mujahideen will soon flood into Israel under the cover of an unprecedented aerial assault featuring an equal number of flying projectiles. The jihadists will attack settlements, kibbutzim, and towns, while the rockets, drones, mortars, and missiles will pound cities, overwhelming the capacity of the IDF and the Iron Dome. Israel's vaulted defenses will be stymied and unable to free the captives in overwhelmed communities while soldiers are rendered mere spectators as their cities burn. And while no one can forestall America's inevitable capitulation, as it joins the rest of the world in a global alliance against God's people, nor can anyone contain Islam's thirst for genocide, we can be on the right side of the argument. We can and should stand with Israel and Jews against the disreputable and murderous anti-Semites. And we can ask those condemning the victims to tell us what they are accusing Jews of doing so that we can tell them what they have done and plan to do. It gives me no pleasure to affirm that I have been right all along. A year before October 7, 2023, I predicted the nature of the assault, and on that day I took to the air to record a message explaining what would transpire if Israel didn't follow the strategy one articulated on October 8, 2023. Sadly, the nation lacked the leadership, understanding, and courage to do what had to be done, and so every consequence I foretold transpired. As a result of religious and political malfeasance, only God can save his people. Fortunately, he will, but on his schedule and, thus, not until the Shabuah harvest on May 22, 2026, for his covenant family, September 23, 2033 on Towrah for a remnant of Yisrael and Yehudim, and then 10 and 15 days later on Yom Kippurim and Sukkah on October 2 and 7 in year 6000 Yah. Between now and then, many will die as nations crumble. For 61 I am in touch with our future because I know Yahowah and have studied what his prophets revealed. My mission is, therefore, to get his people's attention, reintroduce them to their God and Messiah, and then lead them back home. If you do not yet know him, it's time you set this book down and return to the bookshelf at yadaya.com and begin reading an introduction to God, Yada Yahowah, observations, and coming home. Then, if time permits, consider Babel and Twistianity. Once you accept what Yahowah is offering by doing as he asks, then please join us in heralding his message. There is precious little time left. The covenant family will be removed on the Shabat of Shabuah, May 22, 2026 as the worst of Yaakov's troubles commence. I will return as a witness, along with the prophet Elia, 4 years later on the 1st of Abib in year 5997 Yah, April 4, 2030 following a solar eclipse. This will be just 3.5 years prior to the ultimate family reunion spoken of in Jeremiah and celebrated on Towrah, Kippurim, and Sukkah in year 6000 Yah, September 23, October 2, and 7, 2033. The world is going to get caustic, chaotic, and catastrophically calamitous over the final 10 years of human malfeasance. Nations and their economies will fail, the winds of rage and war will engulf the globe, truth will be sequestered, and with limited opposition and a collective aversion to reason, progressives and Islam will fill the void and gain influence. Anti-Semitism will reach unprecedented levels, and blood will flow as never before. At the risk of being presumptuous, I'd like to suggest a course of action for people who would like to know Yahowah and become part of his covenant family. This message is open to Gowan but is primarily directed toward Israel, in all three stripes and varieties, the political, religious, and in between, for open-minded agnostics and atheists, even for thinking progressives. For 62 But first a word of caution for everyone, all religions are poisonous, some are just more lethal than others. Islam is the worst of a bad lot. It has no redeeming qualities. Those who submit are destined to live and die in civil, economic, intellectual, and religious poverty. Collectively, the Islamic nations rank as the least free, least prosperous, and least enlightened places on earth. Muslims, representing 1/4 of the world's population, are responsible for over 4/5 of the world's armed conflicts and terrorist attacks. In life, Muslims are damned by a false prophet. In death, a demonic spirit claims their souls. And they do not suffer alone. Terror and death are Islam's legacies. If you were looking for a summary of Muhammad's recitals, a way to shortcut nearly 4,000 pages of study, you won't find it here. The religion of 2 billion people isn't something to trifle with, especially when it is so deadly. Moreover, a little knowledge can be very dangerous. A handful of quotes used out of context will do more harm than good. While I would prefer that you know and digest the story of Islam from antagonistic beginning to bloody end, should your preference be to study what the non-prophet and ungod had to say about one topic or another, such as jihad, Muhammad's indiscretions, deceit, war, women, or Jews, a topical arrangement of quotations has been provided to aid such investigations. Ultimately, it all comes down to this: the hadith collections of Ishaq, Tabari, Bukhari, and Muslim contain all that is known about Muhammad and his contributions to Islam. If they are not accurate, then Islam ceases to exist, as the Quran is incomprehensible without the context and chronology they provide. No Muslim could follow its commands to emulate the Prophet's example because his commands would be unknown. The substance behind all 5 pillars would vanish. For 63 however, should the hadith collections of Ishaq, Tabari, Bukhari, and Muslim be accurate, then Islam is nothing more than a sadistic and murderous fraud, a criminal scam perpetrated by a grossly immoral man. Either way, Islam is not only wrong, indeed, evil. The survival of life on the planet is now at risk due to the ill-conceived economic and military alliances bolstering the deadliest expression of the religion. Humankind is in a fog. Most are aiding and abetting their own demise. Evidential truth has been exchanged for unsubstantiated opinions, reason has been abrogated by speculation, and man has replaced God with himself. That leaves us with a choice. We can separate ourselves from the lemmings, reject religion and politics, mock the conspiracies, and turn instead to the Torah and prophets, or be caught up in the carnage. Since I have risked my life and put my reputation on the line to compose goddamn religion, and since I devoted the previous 2 decades to writing the other books comprising Yada Yahowah, I want to conclude our time together by sharing how you can become part of God's eternal family. Speaking through one of his prophets, Yahowah encouraged his people to listen to what he had to say about them in the opening stanza of the 5th chapter of Shabat. And so it is by coming to understand why Jews find themselves in such a horrible predicament that we come to appreciate Yahowah's remedy. Hear this, Shama, Zoth, listen to this and process the information. Those who are priests and have become religious leaders, Ha-Kohen, ministers tasked with explaining and facilitating participation in the Berith and Mikra via the Torah. Pay attention and be attentive for 64 to what you are hearing, Wakashab, listen diligently and accept this information as true, then respond to it, family of Yisrael, Beit Yisrael. Extended family of political leaders, Beit HaMelech, home of government rulers, open your ears to hear as tools to evaluate and consider, Azan, broaden the scope of what you are hearing, from Azan, weigh, test, prove, and consider. For this, KY, just assessment, HaMishpat, this rational evaluation and reasoned conclusion using sound judgment leading to a justified condemnation, applies to you, La Adam. Indeed, KY, you have become, Haya, you exist as, a snare, a dangerous means to control others, Patch, you are plotting a calamity to trap and restrict, La Mitzvah with observances and edicts, La Mitzvah, the focus upon and considerations pursuant to being observant, in addition to, Wa, a net, Rishe, a means to capture, control, and confine, a network designed to impoverish and dispossess others, spread out, Parash, scattered around, upon, Al, Tabor a broken and confused world. Tabor, the confounding abominations of the earth. How Shah/he liberates Hosea 5 verse 1. Yahowah has divided society into 3 segments, priests, people, and politicians. I believe that they are listed in this order for a reason. If the Lo'i had listened and done as they were asked, Yisraelites would have heard them speak of Yahowah. Had that occurred, they would have responded appropriately because God's word is consistent and compelling. And had they done so, the people would have relied upon Yahowah's priests and judges to properly interpret and apply the Torah, negating the need for political and religious leaders, particularly rabbis. Should you be wondering who Yahowah is asking the 3 communities of Yisrael to listen to at this moment as time runs out for a successful reunion, the only viable candidates according to the prophets are Yada and Elyah. For 65 the rebellious insurgents who are openly defiant, Waset, those who swerve to and fro, turning aside and falling away, are intensely and deeply, Amak, are profoundly and cunningly, murderous, even genocidal, Shachata, deadly to the point of sacrificing human souls, so I, Any, will judge them, inflicting the appropriate penalty on each of them, which is to incarcerate the totality of them. Muzar Lahem, will shackle and constrain them to rebuke them. How Shah 5:2. The proponents of religion who are overtly hostile to Yahowah and his people, who deliberately pull the unsuspecting away from the proper path, are genocidal from Yahowah's perspective. And for that, they have earned their express ticket to hell. God is going to judge them, inflicting the appropriate penalty on each insurgent, which will be, at the very least, to incarcerate them in Sheol. Justice requires that those who have been savagely abused or deliberately cheated of their souls know that those who tormented and defrauded them are being held accountable. I, myself, am aware of any Yada, I have noticed and so I am familiar with, Ephraim ashes, Ephraim, worthless specks of carbon, from Epher, useless ash, describes the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom. And Yisrael the contentious struggling with God, why Yisrael, is not hidden, lo, catch it, is not concealed, from me, min any. For now, KY, Ada, Ephraim worthless specks of carbon, Ephraim, ashes, is an unfaithful, immoral, and disingenuous religious whore, Zana, is a prostitute, a harlot feigning affection to many for monetary gain. And Yisrael, is defiled, tame, is unclean and improper, sullied and dishonorable. How Shah 5:3. It has been a very long time since Jews listened to the voice of their God. They asked him not to speak directly to them, and he honored that request with a brilliant group 466 of prophets and articulate witnesses. And while Yahowah's people are only marginally more responsive now, this is about to change. Although, the fact remains that for the past 3,000 years, Jews have been their own worst enemy. Their cultural traditions, social customs, religious practices, and political dealings, Ma Elohim, their actions and activities, do not allow, lo, Nathan, preclude, or return to, Lashab el, restoration with, their God, Elohim Hem. Indeed, it is certain that, KY, an illegitimate and duplicitous spirit, Ruach Zinanim, a disloyal and immoral, an unreliable and whorish, religious spirit akin to a prostitute acting under false pretenses, is within them, Ba Karabhem, is part of their inner nature. Therefore, they do not know or understand, lo, Yada, they are not familiar with and do not acknowledge, they are unaware of and do not respect, Yahowah, Yahowah, a transliteration of Yahowah as instructed in his Torah, teaching regarding his Haya, existence. How Shah/he delivers Hosea 5 verse 4. This remains true for the overwhelming majority of Yisraelites and Yehudim. And so, with only 2 years remaining before the Shabuah harvest, and 9 at the time of this writing in 2024 before Towrah's fulfillment, the ice will thaw and hearts will become receptive soon. It is important to note that the prophecy pertaining to this day and mankind's issues during it was punctuated with a negation of the title under which this, and every other book I have written, is heralded, Yada Yahowah. Consider it an endorsement, something Yisrael has not heard in a very long time, and now needs to hear to rebut the religious. Moreover, the pride and arrogance, the unwarranted perceptions and constant agitation, the presumptuousness and haughtiness, the self-adulation and 467 glorification, of Yisrael, those who struggle with and contend against God, testifies, bears witness as a conspicuous pronouncement, against his presence, Panahu. Therefore, Yisrael those who contend and struggle with God, Yisrael, and, Ephraim worthless specks of carbon, Ephraim, will falter, stumble, and fall, and they will be overthrown, Cashel, will stagger and will not succeed as a result of being feeble and weak, in their perversions, corruptions, and libelous errors, Aoun/A1hem, in their religious malfeasance. Yehuda beloved of Yehuda, related to Yah, will also waver and succumb along with them, Cashel Gam, Him, will falter and fall in addition to them, staggering and failing to succeed as a result of being weakened by following them. Hawshah 5:5. As bad as things appear now in the wake of worldwide protests against Israel following the Islamic assault on the nation on October 7, 2023, they will get decidedly and unimaginably worse. Not only is inevitable as a result of mankind's poor choices, Yahowah told us so thousands of years ago that it would occur because he has seen our future. And while the tiny nation will not be completely destroyed, nor will its people be exterminated as Muslims envision, they will come surprisingly close. Within their flocks, among sheep and goats representing those following political and religious shepherds, and among their herds, denoting the tendency of people to congregate together, they will travel about, halak, they will walk through life, to search for a way to hold Yahowah responsible, and look to conspire against Yahowah, labakash, Yahowah. They will try to hold Yahowah accountable while rebelling against the authority of Yahowah, but, they will not achieve what they seek, matzah, they will not find satisfaction, obtain what they sought to 468 uncover, and they will not encounter or experience the reaping or harvest. He has withdrawn, chalets, he has removed himself and disassociated, from them, minhem. Hawshah 5:6. They have been untrustworthy and unreliable, having betrayed and been treacherous in their dealings, beguiled, they have been unfaithful and adulterous, having shown themselves in violation of the agreement by their religious apparel, with, against, Yahowah, written as directed by his Torah, teaching. For now, simultaneously, they have fathered and brought forth offspring, Yalid, they have fostered descendants, who are illegitimate and estranged children, Ky ben Zerim, who are separated, alienated, deserted, foreign, and distant. Therefore, the crescent moon, Chodesh, symbolic of Islam, will devour them, Akelhem, will consume and destroy them, taking the space which belonged to them, along with their land, Kelekhem, as a result of their seductive words their fate is to have their territory taken. Hawshah/Hosea 5:7. Yisraelites have flocked together more than any other race or cultural group, even when exiled from their homeland. Having migrated throughout Europe and to the New World, encountering anti-Semitism wherever they have gone, rabbis have sought to hold God accountable for their poor reception and subsequent torment. But in all of this time, and in all of their ways, they are no closer to the truth and they are further from Yah. They have rebelled against his instructions, the consequence of which is to be excluded from his protection, leaving them vulnerable to Muslims, represented by the crescent moon. And this is particularly sad when one realizes that by selling Talmud citations to Muhammad, rabbis aided and abetted the religion which declared war of Jews 14 centuries ago. In that the colloquial definition of insanity is continuing 469 to do the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result, one must ask why, after 3,000 years of subjugation and abuse, Jews continue to act the same way toward God, preferring their religion and politics over a relationship with Yahowah. To come home, to be protected, and to live, they must change. According to what we have just read, Yahowah and Yehudim have been suffering through a protracted intermission. But God has not forgotten his people. Seeking a different outcome based upon a change in attitude, Yahowah asks. Blow, taka, sound and trumpet, blasting, the shofar, ram's horn, from shof, to strike out openly in a crushing and bruising manner and shafar, in a bright, fair, and beautiful way, upon, ha-gibah the hill with the clarion, chatzitzara, horn, in, ha-rama the heights. Signal an alarm and shout for joy, roa, make a loud noise so that it is heard openly by the public and they become aware of what is going to occur, tragically and jubilantly, at Beth, on home of trouble, Beth, on, house of religious wickedness and family of affliction and sorrow. It is the end for you as the other, afterward, at a later time, during the last days, it will be over for you, Benjamin Benjamite, Benjamin, son of the sea, spawn of Gentiles, and a reference to the wolf who founded Christianity. Hawshah 5:8. While the crescent moon represents Islam, the Benjamite who is being associated with the home of trouble is Paul, the founder of the Christian religion. Second and third only to Judaism, Christianity and Islam represent the longest standing and most debilitating foes of the Jewish people. This realization is underscored by the realization that religious Jews are being directly associated with Benjamin, and that's bad because he is the wolf in sheep's clothing devouring Israel. 470. And while the identity of these adversaries is relevant, are you aware that the one Yahowah is asking to sound the shofar is the same individual he tasked with writing Babel, goddamn religion, and Twistianity to expose the hostile intent and false nature of these religions while at the same time, calling his people home through the rest of the Yada Yahowah series? As affirmation, consider this next prophetic declaration. Ephraim, worthless specks of carbon, Ephraim, ashes, will be horrified and desolated, Lashama, will be devastated during a horrific, atrocious, and appalling event, which will occur, Haya, in the day, Ba Yaum, during the time, of rebuke and impeachment, Taukecha, disapproval, argument, rational discourse, correction, chastisement, and chiding, among the various tribes, Ba Shebet, within the clans, family heritage, subdivisions, and people groups, of Yisrael, those who contend and struggle with God, Yisrael. At that time, I will reliably make Yada known, Yada Thaman, I will be known and acknowledged for being truthful, dependable, and enduring, with Yada, in the hyphal perfect, God will act at a certain point to acknowledge and make known Aman, which in the nifal participle reveals that he will carry out and receive the benefits of being reliable in a profound way. Hawshah 5:9. The shofar ram's horn provides an elegant, boisterous, and piercing resonance when blown correctly. It is the trumpet Yahowah selected to herald his announcements of the Shabuah and Towrah harvests. They represent the last call, God's final invitations to come home. His people will either tune into his summons and respond to the warnings and provisions he is providing and we are articulating, or life will be over for them. Yehudim who turned a deaf ear to the final blast of the shofar on Shabuah and Towrah will likely remain estranged come Yom Kippurim. They will miss Sukkah, the 471 return to the garden, and the time to camp out with our Father. This realization is not only important to you, Yisrael, but to me as well. I was summoned by Yahowah on Towrah, the day of Roah, signaling the alarm and shouting for joy in the fall of 2001. With other troubadours joining the chorus, we have been trumpeting Yahowah's message as Roah, loudly and openly as possible ever since. Throughout this prequel to Yahowah's return with Daud, we will address those willing to listen in what is otherwise a misled and unsuspecting world on the cusp of destroying itself. The government and religious leaders, Sar, ruling authority figures, highest-ranking officials, from Serer, those who act like royalty, as lords with an assumed right to control and claim power for themselves, of Yehuda, beloved of Yah, are, Haya, perceived as, Ka, recognized as, untrustworthy and disloyal deviants, Sug, alienating and backsliding proponents of circular reasoning. I will pour out, Shapak, I will shed, a boundless amount, Gabul, a colossal extent, of my righteous indignation and intense displeasure with an outburst of my disappointment, Ibra Eni, my utter frustration, upon them, Alhem, as if it were fluid, Ka Ha-Maim, like water. Hawshah 5:10. Yahowah's animosity is consistently directed toward his people's political and religious leaders, and then it floods down upon the many they have corrupted beyond the hope of words and reason. In this case, Sar describes government officials and religious leaders, the authority figures, within Yehuda Judah. It offers the impression that they act as lords as if they were royals designated by their God to rule. They believe they have the right to impose their will on everyone else, restricting the choices of others to control them. As evidence Yahowah was correct, with the overtly political left vying against the ultra-orthodox 472 right, Israel has become a house divided without an ethical leader to be found among millions. Even the top brass of the IDF have failed miserably and can no longer be trusted to defend the nation which is about to implode under adverse world scrutiny and pressure. God's assessment of Jewish political and religious institutions, parties, and sects is that they are untrustworthy and corrupt. He calls them disloyal deviants, which sounds like he must know them personally. He takes issue with their propensity for circular reasoning and, thus, being irrational and disingenuous. He does not care for their dishonesty or egos either. Nor do I. Being misled and swayed by politics or religion, even conspiracy or patriotism, is a sure way to waste one's life and lose one's soul, but it is not a crime. Misleading others is, by contrast, an offense worthy of divine judgment. Therefore, Jewish religious and political proponents and advocates have engendered Yahowah's frustration. The torrent of his animosity will flood upon them in mountainous waves of righteous indignation. The very men who claim to speak for God and represent his people are the most displeasing to him. And that is especially true of rabbis because their Torah is the Talmud, and in it, rabbis speak over God. Ephraim, the worthless speck of carbon ash, Ephraim, has been deceived and defrauded, extorted and oppressed, a sack, he has been subjugated by tyrants, brutally treated, horribly cheated, and viciously exploited. His competence in exercising good judgment is incapacitated and his ability to reason is shattered, Ratzatz Mishpat, his thinking and decision-making are broken, his capacity to resolve disputes is fragmented. This is because, he has been intent on, agreeable to, and fixated upon, Yael, he is particularly willing and determined, going after a variety, Halak, Achar, to 473 pursue right to the very end, of worthless religious dogmas, Tsa, idolatrous forms of human excrement, revolting filth, utter nonsense, unsubstantiated ideas and fake gods, a whole lot of futile and vain blah blah blah. Hawshah 5:11. I told you so. Judaism is Israel's greatest impediment. It is crippling. Rabbis through the ages have incapacitated the people to the point that thinking is debilitated and choices are restricted. They deceive and defraud. The productive are extorted and the faithful are subjugated. The result is a sea of parasites adorned in black. But don't gloat should you be draped in a rainbow of colors because you are no closer to the truth. In this regard, it is my expectation that while both sides of this sectarian and secular divide will agree to slander me, one voice will overcome the many and within a decade Judaism and progressive politics will cease to exist. Rabbis are about to become extinct as are social influencers. Likewise, over the past 2 decades, questioning Paul and Prophet of Doom changed thousands of lives worldwide, providing those who suspected that there was something dreadfully wrong with their religion to discard the doctrines that have sought to control them. However, realistically, jihadi Muslims are incapable of reading what now has become goddamn religion, preferring instead to prove the peaceful nature of their cult by threatening to kill me. And of course, questioning Paul, now Twistianity, devastates the religion that has harassed Jews for 2 millennia. Its audacity in replacing Yahowah's beloved Son and Messiah with a mythical misnomer is something God will repay in kind, disowning them. Surprising to many, but nonetheless conclusively demonstrated in Twistianity and God-damn religion, rabbis were largely to blame for the emergence of both 474 Christianity and Islam. Had they recognized and celebrated the arrival of the Mashiach, Zeroah, and Ben-El in fulfilling the promise of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, and had they not outlawed the use of Yahowah's name, Paul would have failed and Christianity wouldn't exist. And had rabbis not sold Muhammad Talmud readings, the Quran would not have been perceived as credible and Islam would have died with it. As for Yisrael, the people's inability to think rationally has been a direct result of their favorite pastime, being religious. They have wallowed in human excrement as if it were a bubble bath and worn it as if it were perfume. Nonsense has been the only sense they have held dear. But I am like a moth, perceived as something wasteful and fabricated, any kaha, ash, so I am thought to be a sick creature, a rotten discharge of a nocturnal insect, to Ephraim, lot Ephraim, to those amounting to traces of ash, and, much like, similar to, a fungal parasite or a septic infection, rakab, a degenerative disease or dry rot, to the household of Yehuda, Beit Yehuda, to the family of Yah's beloved. Shah 5:12. His assessments are valid, and his testimony is accurate. Rabbis have written their own Torah, superseding Yahowah's, while scribing themselves in the starring roles. As a result, the religious are so bedazzled by their own perceived brilliance that they hardly notice that Yahowah exists. So, it is little wonder that the relationship called for a divorce. But that was then, now at God's urging, I am begging them to return. Yahowah intends to honor his promises, no matter how undeserving the beneficiary. He has vowed to reconcile his relationship with those who view him unkindly, and that includes Yisrael. Therefore, there are 3 remaining opportunities for the willing to recant their 475 prior positions between now and October 2033. So, Ephraim perceived, Ephraim, and the northern kingdom viewed and witnessed, that which was associated with his religious malady and sickness, ets Cholihu, his related illness and disease, his infirmities and the cause of his suffering, and Yehuda, his oozing and pustulant wound, Yehuda, eth Mazorhu. But then, Ephraim, went, Halak, walked, traveling, and conducting a lifestyle, toward Ashur, Assyria, the basis of Ashira, the mythical queen of heaven and mother of God, reaching out to Shalak, the greatly contentiousness and adversarial despot, Melech Yereb, the physically aggressive and vehemently quarrelsome lord of religion and politics. But neither he nor this could repair the damage you have done to yourselves, lo, Yakal la Rapha, la Adam, it would not restore you or heal you, and it will not prevail or succeed in resolving what ails you, nor cure you, lo, Gaha, nor provide restoration or healing, from the infectious disease you perpetrated which ensnares you, min, Adam Mazor, of your ulcerous lesions and from your pustulant wounds that have captivated you. Shah 5:13. Yahowah's indictment of Yisrael and Yehuda reveals that his people were actually aware of the damage they had done to their relationship with God and to themselves. Religion had made them ill, and the disease had progressed such that Yisrael was hideous. This condition was a result of their ongoing propensity to infect themselves with their own deadly concoction of pathogens. They were so engrossed with their religious and political alternatives to God, they could no longer be cured, even by a slap in the face. Their degrading exile in Assyria would make them more adversarial and contentious, not less. The damage was all-consuming and irreversible because the 476 virus of their own design had infected everyone. There is always a consequence. As a result, I will be akin to Anaki Ka, a roaring lion, Ha-shackle, to Ephraim, La Ephraim, and like Waka, a conciliatory lion, Ha-kafir, approaching the family of Yehuda, La Beit Yehuda. I, myself, any, will tear up or tear apart, Teref, I will rip up or tear away, providing what is required, then I will either walk away or lift up, Halak Nasa, I will go away or I will carry away, such that nothing will rescue or snatch away, Ein Natsal, so that no one will deliver or take away. Shah 5:14. This is an interesting play on words, an example where similar things convey vastly different outcomes. Looking at Ephraim, the shackle lion is roaring. With it, God is poised to tear Yisrael away, Teref ripping the nation, then Halak walking away. And for Yisrael, there would be Ein Natsal no rescue anytime soon. By contrast, with Yehuda, the Kafir lion is conciliatory, ready to make amends. We know this because Kafir is from kafar to reconcile, serving as the basis for Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations. Then as we approach the same verbal chain, we discover that Yahowah will personally tear his beloved from Ephraim, separating them from harm's way, while Teref providing whatever they require. So now, rather than Halak walk away, God will be Nasa lifting them up and carrying Yehuda home. As a result, Ein Natsal no one will ever be able to take them away again. And while this sounds encouraging in contrast to what preceded it, there would be 27 centuries between infection and cure. What follows is among the most profoundly important statements ever spoken by God, especially considering the implications. For 77 I will go away and return, Halak Shub, I will travel about and come back, to my place, El Makaum Eni, to my home, until they closely examine and carefully consider the way to receive the benefits of the relationship through the restoring witness of the eternal testimony, Ad Asher Shamar, and, they seek my presence, responsibly investigating and learning about my appearance, Wabakash Pana, Eni, the desire encountering me face to face. It is during the time of trouble, Ba Hatserer, in a period of great distress, of being besieged and restricted, enclosed and confined, that they will approach by earnestly seeking me, longing to learn about the relationship, Lahem Shakar Eni, they will want to be with me, inquiring about me while genuinely striving to know me. Shah 5:15. Yahowah revealed very clearly that, after divorcing Yisrael for religious infidelity, he was going to back away and allow his beloved to do as they have chosen, which was to fend for themselves. Having previously come to their rescue, having devoted himself to guiding, teaching, and protecting them, God chose not to compete with their political and religious yearnings. He left them to their own devices. It did not turn out well. Over the intervening millennia, Yisraelites were bludgeoned by the Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, then by the Roman Catholics, Muhammad's Muslims, Ottomans, Crusaders, European Christians, conspiratorialists, Nazis, communists, Muslims again, and now by the last generation of immoral and irrational progressives. One would have thought that after a litany of abuse there might have been a Jew somewhere who thought, since our approach has resulted in centuries of demonization, maybe we should flip back through the pages of time to find something that led to a better outcome. For 78 had they done so, the answer was convenient enough because Hezekiah was a contemporary of Hoshea. Upon rediscovering a Torah scroll, he did as Yahowah had asked and removed all traces of religion from Yehuda Judea. Then he and his fellow Yehudim celebrated the Mikra of Chag Matzah, not once, but twice. As a result, the 185,000 Assyrian soldiers camped outside of Jerusalem, the best equipped and trained militants on the planet, died without firing a shot, 50 times the number of trained soldiers than rampaging Mujahideen who successfully invaded Israel on October 7, 23. Obviously, Yahowah is better equipped and more capable than the IDF. And in his case, there was no investment in bullets, bombs, interceptors, or the blood of sons and daughters. And yet, as if either defiant or insane, in the wake of the most recent massacre, and subsequent tsunami of anti-Semitism, most Jews have doubled down against Yahowah, becoming ever more entrenched in divisive and irrational progressive politics and parasitic and suicidal Orthodox Judaism. As a direct result, Israel will be dismembered, sliced into pieces, to reward the Muslim savages with a terrorist state carved out of the Promised Land. Thereupon, October 7, 23 will be played out again, but with 100 times the bombardments and belligerence with catastrophic results. Jews will endure a decade of the worst treatment any race has ever received in the long annals of human atrocities, suffering through horrors worse than the Holocaust. And while the nation will be devastated, a remnant will be spared, not once, but 3 times over the ensuing decade between October 7, 23 and October 7, 33. There will be a substantial harvest of prominent and mature grain on Shabuah, transpiring on a Shabat, May 22 at sunset in 2026 as the time of Yaakov's troubles begins in earnest. Those receiving a trip to Shemaim will include the covenant family comprised of observant Yehudim and 479 Goim, represented by the 2 loaves lifted up before God during the feast and by the realization that those being harvested are represented by Chitahim wheats in the plural form in God's pronouncement of what will soon occur. The second harvest will be comprised of olives, and thus Yisraelites. This reaping will transpire on Towrah following a solar eclipse, on the Shabat beginning September 23. 2033. Yahowah does not want his children left in harm's way as the world comes crashing down on what is left of Israel. Then, 10 days later, during a lunar eclipse, Yahowah and Daud will return to reconcile the relationship with the final remnant of Yisraelites on Yom Kippurim, 6:22 p.m. as the sun sets in Jerusalem, in the Babel year of 6000 Yah, October 2. ND 2033. There is an open invitation for some very special people to join the covenant family. However, there will be no sanction for any religious sect, political institution, or nation. And so now that the options, timing, criteria, and consequences have been presented, I want Yisraelites and Yehudim to appreciate the implications. As foretold by Gabriel, who is Daud, and explained by Michael, who is Yada, the last communication from Yahowah to Yisrael was through Malachi in 447 BCE. Other than what the father did to support his son during the fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in the Yabel year of 4000 Yah in 33 CE, God has remained in Shemaim the spiritual realm and left Yisraelites to wallow in their religious and political disorders and overall bitterness and defiance. Another 2,449 years would pass before God would engage again. On Teruah in 2001 he reached out indirectly through a Gawi, just as he had foretold in the Torah and throughout the Nabi. Yahowah remains committed to calling his people home through the words of the prophets while exposing the impediments which now clutter the way. For 80 the resulting 25-year mission will have resulted in the compilation of 35 books, all offered freely at YYV5C6 along with many thousands of hours of audio programs in support of them. So, as promised, Yahowah re-engaged the moment he found someone, Ad Asher Shamar, willing to closely examine and carefully consider the way to receive the benefits of the relationship through the restoring witness of the eternal testimony. And as a result, Yisraelites have once again, Bakash Pana, sought Yahowah's presence, responsibly investigating and learning about God's reappearance. It has played out exactly as he had promised so many centuries ago. While many will continue to respond over the next 2 years and be included in the Shabuah harvest of standing grain in May 2026, there will be 2 additional opportunities for those who miss this ultimate expression of Yahowah's love. The next ingathering will be Ba Hatzerer, during the time of trouble as Israel is narrowed and Jews are besieged. Like the souls gathered previously, Hem Shakar, they will approach by earnestly seeking God, longing to learn about the relationship. For those who respond to the invitation to attend this Towrah harvest in September 2033, an eternity with Yahowah in the Berith covenant family awaits. Thereafter, aside from a final 7,000 Yehudim who will be among the dwindling remnant who return to Yahowah 10 days later, on Kippurim in October of 2033, there will be no other opportunities. All remaining souls will either be extinguished or incarcerated. Today, Yehudim are emerging from their nightmarish past, opening their eyes, walking away from religion and politics and becoming observant. And for this reason, Yada Yahowah was prepared and published. So it is telling that the comprehensive rewrites of God Damn Religion and Twistianity, the completion of Coming Home 481 Volumes 3 and 4, and the final edits of the Yada Yahowah series will be completed just as the sun sets in Jerusalem on the Shabat of May 22, 2026. Those who have accepted the conditions of the Berith, who attend Yahowah's Mikri, and who are guided by the Torah, will have a ringside seat for the Great Awakening as it plays out in successive events during the commencement and conclusion of the time of Yaakov's troubles, a traumatic period introduced in the 30th chapter of Jeremiah. Should you wish to mark your calendars and meet with Elia and Yada, they will arrive on April 4, 3030, Abib 1, year 5997 Yah, and serve under Daud's instruction during the final 3.5 years, addressing the times, and half a time reference at the conclusion of Daniel to prepare Yisrael for Yahowah, such that he can restore his relationship with his people. That story is told in the 31st chapter of Yirmiah, but also in Yashaya, Zechariah, and Malachi. The word, ha-daber, the message communicated, which, to reveal the way to enjoy the benefits of the relationship, asher, that lead to the path to walk to get the most out of life, came to exist, haya, with, el, Yirmahu, Yahowah raises and lifts up, Yahowah teaches and guides to respect and revere Yah, commonly transliterated Jeremiah, from, min, heth, Yahowah, the Almighty's proper designation pronounced as instructed by his Torah guidance on his haya. Existence in his role in our shalom reconciliation as our Eloah God, to announce, La Amar, Yirmiah 30:1, this is what, Yahowah, the God of Yisrael, Elohim Yisrael, the Almighty of those who engage and endure with God, proclaims, Amar, so as to declare, Amar, of your own volition, write, Kathabla Ada, choose to literally inscribe, jotting down using this alphabet. Cal imperative, all of these words, Eth-Kol Ha-Dabrim, every one of the 482 statements, which lead to the proper path to get the most out of life, that. Asher, I have and will be speaking to you about, Daber El Ada, doing so in a written document so that there is a permanent record, El Seper. Yirmiah 30:2. Because, indeed, behold, Hina, a time is coming, Yamim Bao, days are approaching, prophetically reveals, Naam, Yahowah, when I will return to restore, Washab, the property and possessions taken during the captivity, Shabuth, of my people, and any, Yisrael individuals who engage and endure with God, Yisrael, and, Yehuda the beloved of Yah, Yehuda, declares, Amar, Yahowah. And then, I will return them, bringing them back, Shubhem, I will transform them and restore them, to, El, the land, Eretz, that, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, I gave, Nathan, to their fathers, La, Abhem. They will receive it as their inheritance, Yerash Hai. Yirmiah 30:3. These are the words, El Leh Ha-Dabrim, which, to reveal the way, Asher, Yahowah, spoke, Daber, concerning, El, Yisrael, and, to Yehuda, El Yehuda. Yirmiah 30:4, this is what, time, Yahowah, conveyed, Amar, as we heard, Shama, the sounds, Kaul, of concern over the terrorists and terrorism, Charada Pakhat, when there were no prospects of reconciliation or peace, Ein Shalom. Yirmiah 30:5. Alas, Howie, assuredly, this time, Hayam Hahu, will be so different, Gadal, that there has never been anything similar to it, Min, Ein Kamohu. It is the time of Yaakov's troubles, Eth Tzarahu La Yaakov, it is the period of Israel's anguish and distress, of Jacob's adversity when the nation will be narrowed, reduced in size, and oppressed in dire straits by vicious 483 foes. And yet from it, Min, out of it, he, Yaakov representing Yisrael, will be liberated and saved, Yasha. Yirmiah 30:7. And it shall happen in that day, Haya Ba Hayam Hahu, prophetically declares, Naam, Yahowah, of the vast array of spiritual implements, Saba, that I will break, Shabar, this yoke, this means of control and manipulation, Elhu, from upon your neck, Min, Al Tsar Ada, and I will pull off and tear away, Natak, your bonds and shackles, Mausra, Ada. Those who are illegitimate and unauthorized, those falsely claiming authority who are foreigners advocating that which is improper, Tsar, will no longer make him serve their interests, lo, Abad Ba out. Yirmiah 30:8. Instead, they will serve with, Abad, Eth, Yahowah, their God, Elohim Hem, and with Daud, Eth Daud, their king and counselor, Melech Hem, whom, to reveal the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, I will raise up and establish for them, Lahem. Yirmiah 30:9. Then, Yaakov, my co-worker, Ebed Beni, my associate who works with me, you will have nothing to fear, Ada al Yair, no reason to be intimidated, Yahowah, reveals well in advance of it occurring, Naam. Nor will you be confused or dismayed, al Chathath, Yisrael, because, behold, Hina, I will save you, delivering you, any Yasha, Ada, from being distant and alienated, Min Rachok, from becoming separated as was the case long ago in a previous period of time, along with your offspring, Eth Zerah, from the realm, Min Eretz, of their exile and captivity, Shabihem, where they were controlled and oppressed. And, Yaakov, serving as a synonym 484 for Yisrael, will change and return, Shub, will turn around and come back, recovered and restored, transformed, then be at peace and put at ease, Washakat Washan, find himself in a satisfying situation and favorable circumstance, with no one troubling him, Ein Charad, without a concern. Yirmiah 30:10. For I am with you, Eth Ada Eni, prophetically declares, Naam, Yahowah, to liberate and save you, La Yasha, Ada, to provide freedom and salvation, deliverance and prosperity. Indeed, KY, I will engage and act, Asa, I will do what is necessary, to bring an end to, Kala, I will without fail bring to a conclusion, completely vanquishing, all of the foreign nations and institutions, Ba Kol Hagawan, all of the countries, entities, and each of the pagan peoples of conflicting cultures who are brought together by religion or politics, among whom I have scattered and dispersed you, Asher Putz, Ada, by name and reputation, Shem. You will be the exception because, AKF Ada, I will not act in such a way, lo, Asa, to cause you to fail or perish, Kala, you will not be annihilated or destroyed. Instead, I will provide instructions for you, Yasar Ada, I will enable you to be correct, teaching you and thereby strengthening you, in the way to execute good judgment regarding the means to resolve disputes, La Hamishpat, in how to be judgmental, on how to be discerning and discriminating such that you can make good decisions, from I, to ponder and ask questions about Shapat, being judgmental, making informed and rational decisions, resolving controversies, and being just, such that you are found innocent and are not punished, Wanaka, so that you are pardoned and forgiven, seen as clean and pure, purged of imperfections. I will not banish you nor leave you destitute, lo, Naka Ada, I will see to it that you are never again forced to live elsewhere nor lack for anything. Yirmiyah/Jeremiah 30 verse 11. For 85 since Yahowah has agreed not to talk directly to his people, per their request, he has chosen Yada to deliver these instructions. And as is God's preference, they are in writing and freely offered at yadaya.com. This takes us to the preeminent event. Behold, Hina, look up and pay especially close attention, a time is coming, Yamim Bao, days are approaching, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's name transliterated as directed by his Torah, instructions on his Haya, existence, reveals well in advance of it occurring, Naam, when I will enter into and cut with, Wakaret, Eth, when I will establish through separation with a set-apart agreement on behalf of the house of Yisrael, Beth Yisrael, the home of those who engage and endure with God, and with, Eth, the family of Yehuda, Beth Yehuda, the household of those beloved by Yah, a restored and renewed, Chadash, a repaired and reaffirmed, from Chadash, to renew and repair, to restore and reaffirm, covenant, Berith, family-oriented relationship. Yirmiyah 31:31. It will differ somewhat from, lo, ka, it won't be exactly like, the covenant, ha berith, the family-oriented relationship agreement, which, to reveal the way to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, that provide directions showing the steps to walk which are correct and give meaning to those who are properly guided, I entered into, Karet, I established by setting apart when I cut, with their fathers, Eth-Abhem. On the day, Ba Yaum, I firmly took them by the hand and, with overwhelming intent, overpowered the situation, Chazak any Ba Yad, I showed an intense resolve and was inflexible in my influence over them, even overpowering them due to the urgent need for them to prevail, to bring them out, La Yatza, Min, to draw them away from and then bring them close, descending and extending myself to serve by removing them, of the realm of the crucibles of 486 oppression, Eretz Mitzrayim. The place of subjugation associated with religious coercion and political tyranny, the land of military domination and economic cruelty, from a compound of my, to question and the plural of zar, troubling and adversarial situations. Relationally, they broke, Asher Hem Perar Eth, they sought to nullify that relationship by thwarting its intent and by disassociating from the correct path, thereby revoking the benefits of, my covenant, Berith Any, my family-oriented relationship agreement, although we were married, Wa Anaki Baal Ba Hem, Yahowah, Yahowah, reveals through this prophet, Naam. Yirmiyah 31:32. For this reason, KY, this is, Zoth, specifically, the covenant, Ha Berith, the family-oriented relationship agreement, which, to enjoy the benefits of the relationship, Asher, I will cut, Karet, I will create through separation, making and establishing, with, Eth, on behalf of, the house of Yisrael, Beth Yisrael, the home of those who engage and endure with God, after that and then without hesitation, Achar Hahem, at a later period and in a different time, in the last days. Prophetically declares, Naam, Yahowah, Yahowah, I will provide, placing, Nathan, I will give and ascribe, producing, offering, and bestowing, Torah any my guidance, Eth Torah any, that which is associated with my teaching, instructions, and directions, within them, Ba Karabhem, inside of them, such that it is part of their inner person, part of their thought process, affecting their conscience, and animating their lives. And integrated into their ability to make decisions, Wa al-Lebhem, and upon their inclinations and disposition, their character and thinking, their hearts and minds, I will write it, Kathab Hai, I will inscribe and engrave it. I will be, Wahaya, I will exist as, their God, Lahem La Elohim, drawing near them and approaching 487 them as a ram shepherding his sheep. And they shall be my family, Wahem Haya La Eni La Am, and they will always exist near me as my people. Yirmiyah 31:33. No longer will anyone impart information or teach, while lo lamet out, individuals in association with an errant and outspoken world, Wsh Heth Rea, who, their companions, friends, and countrymen, or, wa, other individuals according to brotherly kinship, Wsh Eth Ach who, so as to say, La Amar, approaching to declare, choose of your own accord to know Yahowah, Yada Yahowah. Decide to recognize and acknowledge Yah, and show some desire to become familiar with and understand Yahowah. Because, KY, truthfully and by contrast, at this time, everyone will know me, Kol Hem Yada, Eth Any, all of them, without exception, will actually be aware of and genuinely acknowledge me, from the youngest, Lamin Katan Hem, and up to the enduring witness of most important and oldest, Wa Ad Gadal Hem, prophetically reveals, Naam, Yahowah, Yahowah. Yirmiyah/Yah lifts up /Jeremiah 31 verse 34. That is the plan. It will not change. So, now that you know what is going to happen, with whom, when, and why it will occur, I trust you will be among the celebrants. Please consider this your invitation. You should choose to go, halak, of your own volition. You should walk and explore, being willingly led, because we want to return to Yahweh, since it is our desire to turn around and change, choosing to restore and re-establish our relationship with Yahowah, the Almighty's proper designation pronounced as instructed by his Torah guidance on his higher existence and his role in our shalom reconciliation as our Eloah God. For he has torn us away for a time, who tariff, expelled us, chased us away, and banished us, so that he 488 can heal us for all time, Rapha and Aknu, so he can promote restoration, cure our diseased and injured state, thoroughly mend and completely repair us, making us whole. He has stricken us, Naka, he has smitten and afflicted us, thrusting us aside, but he will wrap himself around us, Wachabash and Aknu, he will bandage us, wrapping clothing around us, binding us to him and encourage us, speaking words which hearten and enliven our attitudes. How He provides Hosea 6 verse 1. It is your life and your choice because a relationship with Yahowah is subject to free will. It cannot be imposed upon you, which means that, if you want to be with God, you will have to get up and get going. Specifically, to enjoy the benefits of the covenant, Yahowah's people must return to him. They have been busily halak but going in the wrong direction. That is why they have been estranged and must change to come home. We should also be aware that Yisrael and Yehuda are not being invited into the home of Adonai, Hashem, or GD, likewise, the Lord, Jesus, Christ, the Razieli, and the Rabbi Allahi / who are nowhere to be found. There is no mention of Akiba or Maimonides, Peter or Paul, no Muhammad, and no hint of a Talmud, New Testament, or Quran. This journey is through words. It travels back in time to the formation of the Berith and conveyance of the Torah and forward through the fulfillment of the Micro-EY and revelations of the Nabi. The chosen people are being called to halak walk with Yahowah and to shub return to the covenant. As a vinedresser would do in a vineyard, the diseased and rotten tendrils will be pruned so that the vines can be restored to health. It is time for healing, for restoration, and for reconciliation. Having thrust Yisrael aside for recalcitrant and cantankerous behavior, Yahowah stands ready to wrap his arms around his returning children. He will clothe those he exposed long ago. The divorce will end, the 489 relationship will be restored. Love and fellowship will replace anguish and infidelity. Yahowah's remedy for the consequence of religion, his means of restoring his relationship with those who abandoned him, is Pesach and Matzah leading to Bikurim. Shabuah follows for the covenant family comprised of Yehudim and Gauim. And then, for those who missed these fulfillments, the final opportunities are Towrah and Kippurim for the final remnant upon Daud's return so that we can all enjoy Sukkah. In each case, the first two micro-EY result in the third. Through 2 days, Min Yamim, he will choose to revive and sustain our lives, Chaya and Aknu, he will, in accordance with his will, facilitate the preservation of our lives so that, once saved by him, we can continue to live. On the third day, Ba Hayam HaShelishi, he will establish our restoration, encouraging and raising us so that we can stand up and endure, Kyum and Aknu, he will make it possible for us to rise, be exalted, and confirmed, restored and supported, our purpose fulfilled. Then, we will live, Wachaya, we will be restored to life, our lives saved, sustained, and preserved forevermore, in his presence, Lapanahu, approaching him at his appearance. How he saves Hosea 6 verse 2. There are two perspectives from which to interpret the timing of this prophecy. The most direct is to realize that what would transpire over 2 days would lead to living in Yahowah's presence on the third day. Considering that the subject is the revival and preservation of human life, leading to a time when we are established and restored such that we can stand and live in Yahowah's presence, there is an obvious answer. Our lives are extended during Pesach and restored during Matzah so that on Bikurim, we become part of Yahowah's covenant family, living forevermore in his home. Those availing themselves of 490 this generous and beneficial opportunity are not only adopted on Bikurim firstborn children, we are escorted into Shemaim the spiritual realms on Shabuah the promise of the Shabat and of 7. These mode micro-EY were and will be fulfilled in April of 33 and May of 2026, years 4059-93 Yah. Somewhat similarly, the message of Towrah is that Daud is returning on Kippurim to reconcile the relationship between Yahowah and Yisrael so that we can all camp out together on Sukkah. These 2 days leading to the third will play out in September and October 2033, during the 1st, 10th, and 15th day of the 7th month in year 6000 Yah. And yet, there is another way to appreciate the merit of these 3 days. 2,000 years transpired from year 2000 Yah when the covenant was confirmed by Abraham and Yitzchak on Mount Moriah to year 4000 Yah, 2 symbolic days, when its benefits were provided with Daud's fulfillment of Chag Matzah, enabling us to participate in and benefit from the Berith. Under this scenario, the third day is Kippurim in year 6000 Yah. While Passover and unyeasted bread leading to Bikurim remain an essential part of the way home, and to living with God, nary one in a million Jews has capitalized on his offer. And all of this, the entire purpose of Haushah, indeed all of Yirmiah, Yashayah, and Zechariah, too, is to make Yahowah's people aware of their opportunity to reconcile their relationship on or before the day of reconciliations. Everything is pointing to this moment when Yahowah returns for his family. It is at this moment that the renewal of the covenant addressed in Yirmiah 30 and 31 will occur. This is when, following the time of Jacob's troubles, a remnant of Yisrael will be restored. These fortunate few will think and say, we want to know, Wada, we desire information 491 so that we are aware, we want to be perceptive, discriminating, and discerning. We choose to invest considerable time and effort to pursue, Radaf, we want to persistently engage, consistently chasing and following after, Yada Yahowah knowing Yahowah, Yada Yahowah, being aware of and understanding Yahowah. This stage of his journey, Motza, who, his coming forth and appearance, from Ma, to inquire about Yatsa, the coming forth for the exodus, departure, withdrawal, and deliverance, is as sure as sunrise, Kashakar Kun, is as decided upon, appointed, and established, proven, and arranged as is the sun rising in the east at dawn. He will come, bow, he will return, arriving, Kalim perfect, for us, La Anaknu, like the showers, Kaha Geshem, of spring rains as they enable the gathering of the harvest, Ka Malkosh, by refreshing and renewing those of the land who accept the source of teaching and guidance which is on display, Yara Eretz, by making the land receptive to the Torah's instructions and directions which are being made openly known. Yara is the verbal root of Torah. How Shah/he liberates/Hosea 6 verse 3. Ultimately, while in the throes of Yaakov's troubles, many Yehudim will finally be motivated to know what God is offering and asking in return. Spoken using the genuineness of the Kal stem, the consistency of the imperfect conjugation, and the volitional nature of the cohortative mood, Yisraelites will want to be persistently perceptive and genuinely discriminating as they process the information God has provided for them to consider. Since the object of our pursuit is the vocabulary that leads to an understanding of God, I am reminded that our journey began with the commitment to go where His words led. And we have followed them to Yahowah, in full recognition that the path is rigorous and unpopular, for 92 consistently flowing against religious perceptions. But, in the end, those who invest the time and energy will come to Yada Yahowah. This is yet another endorsement. With religion in general, then Judaism, rabbis, and the Talmud having led Yehudim astray for 2 to 3 millennia, a remnant of God's people have been and will give evidence and reason a chance during the last days. However, even with the presentation of 20,000 pages of amplified translations, profound insights, and supporting commentary throughout Yada Yahowah, this will not come easily. There is no short version of the truth or dumbing it down for the apathetic. The pursuit of knowledge regarding the Almighty requires considerable effort, and that is by design. Eternity is forever, so there must be a filter to preclude the arrival of those who are opposed to work and who do not enjoy learning. If I may return to the beginning to make a point regarding the ending, there is likely more to Chawah's experience in the Garden of Eden than what we have been told. In fact, it is what we did not read which defines her story. We have nothing, no conversations, no explorations, no work, no learning, no engagement in the relationship or support of it. Told she could be like God and know it all without effort, she grasped at the opportunity, all while demonstrating her lack of understanding by misquoting God in the process. Chawah was readily misled by the misappropriation and errant citation of Yahuwah's testimony, as is the case with all who are religious. She made herself susceptible to false promises, which obviously did not materialize. She was removed from the garden and would labor to live, neither of which appealed to her. Then she lost her son to his murderous and lying brother, suffering unspeakable agony. It is hard to imagine Chawah making such a poor 493 decision within Eden, so I suspect that there is a lesson here. Perhaps she was unengaged, lounging around all day plucking perfect grapes off a convenient vine. Perhaps she wanted everything done for her and had no interest in learning more about Adam, Yahowah, the garden, the universe beyond, or even herself. For such people, heaven would be hell. So maybe there was nothing to say about Chawah's life in the garden because there was nothing to tell. Relationships are miserable unless the parties involved contribute. Such is the story of the covenant between Yahowah and a recalcitrant Yisrael. Gaining understanding and developing something of value are the products of diligent work. They are not spoon-fed on a silver platter. If you want them, pursue them. And remember, it is an open book test, so you may want to open the book. What Shah recorded Yahowah saying next affirms one of the most controversial aspects of Yada Yahowah. I have set dates and expectations, knowing that the next stage of Yahuwah's journey is as sure as sunrise. God's return is imminent. His relationship with his people will be reconciled and his Torah guidance will be integrated into the lives of his children so that we all know, understand, live, and grow. In this light, I am intrigued that Motza, depicting the next stage of the journey, is based upon Yatsa, the verb which describes the Exodus. Just as Yahowah withdrew his people from Mitzrayim, the crucibles of religious and political oppression nearly 3,500 years ago, he is returning to deliver a remnant of his people from the religious and political threat of Babylon, and, in particular, Judaism, Islam, and progressive politics. Further, with Kun, we know that God's arrival is certain. It has been decided, appointed, and established. As 494 surely as the sun rises in the east, Yahowah will return with his beloved son on Yom Kippurim in year 6000 Yah. It will lead to the dawning of a new day, the opportunity to return to the garden. There will be a marvelous harvest of reconciled Yehudim on Towrah, occurring on Friday at sunset, September 23, 2033, as a dying planet is poised to be bathed in life-giving rains. Beginning 10 days thereafter, beginning on Kippurim, the earth will be restored to the conditions experienced in Gan Eden, Yara refreshed, replete with the ultimate source of guidance and teaching on display. We know this because Yara is the verb Yahowah selected to describe the purpose of his Torah. Beyond renewing, it is the source from which God's teaching, instruction, guidance, and directions flow. The rain that Shah is predicting was explained in Yoel/Joel. As this statement suggests, it will come in 2 waves, one to redeem and the other to reconcile. And yet, there is more to learn about this day when Yisrael will finally seek to know Yahowah than just that restoring showers will fall upon the land in anticipation of the final harvest. So let's reconsider it now in this context. The word, daber, of Yahowah, to show the path to the benefits of the relationship, Asher, came to exist, Haya, for El, Yahowah is God, Yahweh, son, Ben, of Bethuel open to God, Bethuel. Yoel/Joel 1 verse 1. Choose of your own volition to listen to this, Shama, Zoth, leaders of the community, especially those who are mature, Hazakim. Hear it and respond of your own accord, Wa Azin, everyone living in and inhabiting, Kol Yashab, the land and earth, Ha Eretz. Has such as this happened, ha azoth, in your days, ba yaum Adam, or, wa, even, I'm, in the time of your fathers, ba yaum of Adam? Yowel 1:2. For 95 regarding its approach, al-Hayth la, recounted accurately, Sapar, to your children, ben Adam. Then let your children tell their children, wa ben Adam la ben Hem, and their children, wa ben Hem, to the last generation, so they do not get left behind, la dower achar. Yowel 1:3. Awaken and choose to take action, qyts, you who are intoxicated, shikor. Weep and wail, wa baka wa yalo, all who drink, kol shada, in association with new and sweet wine, yain al-azis. For indeed, ky, it is cut off and severed, kareth, from, min, your mouth, and thus your speech, pe, Adam, Yowel 1:5, because, ky, a large group from a non-Yisraelite nation, Gawi, has come up against, Allah, al, my land, Eretz any, a potent force of a great multitude, at some, so numerous as to be uncountable, ein misfar. It has sharpened teeth, shenhu, the piercing incisors of a destructive beast, shen, aryeh, and it has the fangs, madaloth lahu, of a violent animal with a loud roar, labi. Yowel 1:6. My vines, Jephen any, will be set up, sim, for appalling desolation, lashama. And my fig tree, wataina any, will become a splintered stump, snapped off and cut down, katsipa, stripped bare, exposed and condemned, chasif high, rejected and hurled away, washalak, its branches, sarig high, bleached and whitewashed, Laban. Yowel 1:7. Even the sacrificial offerings which bestow a share, ky mincha, and the drink offerings which anoint, nesek, will be withheld, manna, from the family of your God, min baith Elohim Adam. Yowel 1:13. Consecrate, Kadash, a fast, Som. Announce, Kara, an assembly to meet, at Sarah. Gather, Azaph, the elders, Zakan, and all of the inhabitants, Kol Yashab, of the land, Ha, Eretz, to the home and family, Baith, for 96 of Yahowah, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Adam. Then cry out to and summon, Waziaql, Yahowah, Yahowah. Yowel 1:14. This is a notification, aha, to those approaching this day, Laha Yaum, because, ky, the day, Yaum, of Yahowah, Yahowah, is near, Kerob. A great force will be exerted, wakashad, upon, min, the arrival, bow, of Shadi the one who is satisfactory and sufficient, Shadi. Yowel 1:15. To you, El, Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, I call out, Kara. For indeed, ky, fire, Esh, has devoured, Akal, the dwelling places, Na, where the word is questioned, Midbar, and ablaze with flames, while Lehabalaha, are all the trees, Kol ets, of the field, Hasada. Yowel 1:19. Sound the shofar, taka, shofar, in Sion and among the signs posted along the way, B8 Sion, signaling future action, providing a warning, an explanation, and a shout of exaltation, Ruah, on my set-apart mountain, Ba Har Kodesh Eni. Be roused to anger, Ragas, all of you who live in the land, Kol Yashab Ha Eretz, because the day, Ky Yaum, of Yahowah's, Yahowah return, bow, is near, Kerob. Yowel/Joel 2:1. It will be a day of darkness during a time of ignorance and confusion, Yaum Chosek, when there is a reduction of light, Wa Apila, a day of obscuring phenomenon, Yaum Anan, gloomy and miserable, Wa Arapel, similar to, Ka, the swarthy blackness, Shakar, which is spread out, Paras, upon the mountains, Al-Hahar, with many people from a large and powerful army, Rab, at some, the likes of which, Kamohu, has not existed previously, even to the dawn of time, Lo, Hayamin Ha-Aulam. And after this, Wa Pacharhu, it will never occur 497 again, Lo, Yasaf, throughout the years, ad Shana, generation unto generation, dower wa dower. Yowel 2:2. As they approach, La Panahu, fire will consume them, Akal Esh, and behind them, Wa Acharhu, a flame blazes, La Halahaba, as the land and earth, Ha Eretz, come to resemble, Ka, Don Eden the garden of joy, Don Eden, before them, La Panahu. Behind them, Wa Pacharhu, is a desolate and unpopulated wasteland clothed in horror, Shemama, and in addition, Wagam, there is no escape or deliverance for them, Pelita Lo, Hayalahu. Yowel 2:3. There will be what could be compared to the appearance of, Ka Mara, swift military transports and warplanes, says. This phenomenon could be perceived, Marahu, as being similar to armored personnel carriers and mobile cavalry, Wa Ka Parash, especially pertaining to the way they run and are driven in pursuit of their foes, Ken Ruts. Yowel 2:4. As with the loud roar and thunderous rumbling, Ka Kaul, of these wheeled military vehicles, Merkaba, upon the summits of the mountains, their leaders seek the high ground, Al-Rosh Hahar, as they leap about, springing into the air, Rakad, like the crackling of a flame, Ka Kaul Lahab, of fire devouring, Esh Akal, stubble, Cash. Such is the nature of this multitude of people, this vast and severe throng of militants, Ka Am, at some, drawn up, aligned, and arranged, Barak, for war, La Milchama. Yowel 2:5. From their presence, Min Panahu, the people, tremble and shake, writhing in anguish, terrorized and tormented, Chail. Every face, Kol Pana, becomes flushed and pale, Kabat's Paror. Yowel 2:6. Like warriors, Ka Jibor, they charge ahead, quickly chasing their prey, Ruts. As men, Ka Ysh, of war equipped with weapons, Milchama, they scale 498, Allah, barriers, protective barricades, blockades, and walls, Koma. Each individual travels in his own route for the cause, Wa Yshba Derek Hu, Halak. They do not renounce their pledge nor swerve, Wallo Abat, from their path or conduct, Arichem. Yawel 2:7. Walking around with their weapons, Halak wa be'ad ha-shalach, they attack, Naphal, without relenting, lo, batza. Yawel 2:8, they rush, Shakak, into the city, ba ha-yir, from within the walls and barriers, ba ha-koma, running into the houses, Ruts ba ha-baith, by climbing through the windows, ala be'ad ha-chalon, entering like thieves, Bao ka ha-ganub. Yawel 2:9. The earth will quake before them, lapanahu ragas. The heavens will be shaken, Areash Shemaim. The sun and the moon, Shemesh wa Yerich, will grow dark, Kedar, and the stars, Wakakab, their brightness, Nogahem, will be taken away, Azaph. Yawel 2:10. We know that 3,000 Muslim mujahideen were so savage that they cut Israel to its knees on October 7, 23. So, it's hard to imagine the havoc that 100 to 1,000 times this number will cause, but that is exactly what Yahowah is telling Israel will occur. These are Muslims, and their intent is genocide. Yahowah alone can save you from them. Listen to him and respond, and then you will be among the beneficiaries. Yahowah, offers, Nathan, his voice, Kaulhu, before the presence, Lapana, of his especially capable and powerful force, Chylhu. Indeed, Ky, exceedingly great, Rab Meod, and capable, at some, is his temporary dwelling place which is now in close proximity, Meshanahu. The one who engages and acts upon, Asa, his word, Daberhu, is indeed, Ky, valuable and important, Gadal. The day, Yaum, of Yahowah will be exceedingly awesome, Yair, Meod, for whoever, Wamai, is lifted up and carried away by him 499, Nasa, who. Yawel 2:11. Yahowah is calling his people home. Should you want to join his covenant family, know that the path is through his testimony, which is navigated by thinking. Yet even now, Wagam Ada prophetically declares, Naam, Yahowah, Yehovah choose to return, Shub, all the way to me, enduring forever based upon my testimony, ad any, by using your best judgment, ba kol lebab Adam. Yawel 2:12. Religious dress-up is part of the problem, not a solution. So please, no black suits, no kippas, no headscarves, or religious apparel. Be receptive, listen, and think. So, your hearts and minds are invited and called, Wakar lebab Ada, but not your garments, Wa, al-begged. Return to, Shub el, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Adam. For indeed, Ky, he, who, is compassionate, Chanon, and merciful, Racham, long-suffering, patient, and slow to anger, Erek Af, abounding in steadfast and loyal love, Warab Chesed. He will provide reassurance and encouragement, Nakam, during this malevolent and miserable ordeal, Al-Ha'arayah. Yawel 2:13. Over the centuries, man has been malevolent, with none worse than Muslims led by Muhammad and beguiled by his Quran. But let's never forget how horribly Christians have treated Jews. While God has said it, I don't want you to miss the gift he is offering. To endure with Yahowah and receive the blessings of the relationship, we must all, Jews especially, change our attitudes and then think our way to him. Who knows, my Yada, who will change his thinking in return so that he can be restored, Shub, and be reassured and encouraged after reconsidering, Wa 500 Nakam. He will survive, enduring as a remnant, Sha'ar, in the end, Bichar. He will be a blessing, who, Baraka, a gift, Mincha, set before, Nazakla, Yahowah, your God, Elohim Adam. Yawel 2:14. To a significant extent, Yada Yahowah is today's shofar, one drawing Yisrael's attention to the signs posted along the way. Throughout the many pages, Yahowah's micro-EY invitations to be called out and meet are introduced and explained so you can capitalize upon them. Sound the shofar, Taka shofar, in Sion among the signs posted along the way, B8 Sion. Consecrate, Kadash, a fast, Tzom. Announce, Kara, an assembly to meet, at Sarah. Yawel/Joel 2 verse 15. Should you be reading this before it occurs, the next harvest will be reaped on the Mod assembly to meet of Shabuah 7 sevens and the promise of the Shabat. This will transpire 7 years in advance of the fulfillment of Teruah, Kippurim, and Sukkah in year 6000 Yah/2033 CE. The time of Israel's troubles will play out between them. While I've shared them previously, since they are vital to your survival, these micro-EY will be celebrated on schedule. Shabuah, harvest of standing grain, representing the covenant family, occurring on a Shabat commencing May 22, 2026. Announced by the Shapar and the publication of Yada Yahowah. Those who avail themselves of this invitation not only avoid being caught up in the time of Israel's troubles, they are tremendously valued by Yahowah since they will all have chosen him based upon the prophetic testimony he made available to us long ago, and they will have made their choice before other options were eliminated. This will be the largest of the harvests, and it will include Yehudim and Gawim, represented by the 2 loaves. 501 Towrah, olive harvest, representing a remnant of Yisrael, some 70,000 Yehudim, occurring on a Shabat commencing September 23, 2033. Announced by a solar eclipse, the Shapar, and Yada Yahowah. The 2 witnesses, Yada and Belia, will be in Jerusalem calling God's people home for 3.5 years prior to this homecoming. The intent is to keep the returning flock out of harm's way because the last 10 days of mankind's dominion over the earth will be hell. Kippurim, Day of Reconciliations, the final gleaning of 7,000 Yehudim, beginning at sunset in Jerusalem, 6:22 p.m., October 2, 2033. Prepared by Belia and announced by Yahowah's return with his beloved son, Daud. At this time, the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant will be anointed by the Messiah as the Berith covenant is restored. This is the final opportunity because judgment will commence while father and son celebrate the family reunion and restore the earth to Eden. Sukkah, those who have capitalized upon what Yahowah is offering will camp out with father and son for 1,000 years beginning on the Shabat of October 7, 2033. Announced by Dowd and heralded by the specter of a lunar eclipse. Thereafter, with all of God's children becoming seven-dimensional, we will be witnesses to the creation of a new universe to explore and enjoy forevermore. Therefore, Yahowah said, gather the family for a harvest, Azaf Am. Set the community apart, Kadash Kahal. Collect those more mature, Kabats. Assemble the children, Azaf Aulul, including the infants who are nursing, Yaunek Sad. The bridegroom should be brought out, Yatsa, Chathan, of his room, Cheddarhu, and the bride from her bridal chamber, Wakalamin Chupahai. Yowel 2:16. For the purpose of understanding and making 502 connections, between, Bain, the portico and colonnade, Ilam, and up to the approach to the altar, Wala HaMizbeach, the priests, Ha-Kohen, and those who serve, Shrath, Yahowah, Yahowah, will cry out, Baka, pleading, Wa Amar, please choose to show compassion upon and spare, Chuz Al, your people, Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah. And do not allow, Wa Al Nathan, your property which was offered as an inheritance, Nakla, Ada, to become a contemptible and dishonored object of scorn which is jeopardized, Churfa, simply a slogan to determine who controls it among, Mashal Bahem, the foreign people and nations, Gowan. Why should they constantly ask, Lama Amar, among the people, Bam, where is, Aya, their God, Elohim Hem? Yowel 2:17. For the past 3,500 years, it's Jews who have posed this question, while failing to admit that they are to blame. They were exceptionally rude and cantankerous toward Yahowah during the entirety of the Exodus. They begged God never to speak to them again and then they stopped listening to those he had chosen to speak through. And for most Jews, nothing has changed. Even during the Holocaust, Jews blamed GD for not saving them, when it was they who had abandoned him to deal with the religious, political, militaristic, and conspiratorial alone. Muslims, Christians, and progressives have long coveted Israel, even renaming it Palestine. But the promised land was Yahowah's gift to his people and he will reclaim and return it. So, those who protest otherwise can take there, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and shove it where the sun don't shine. Then, Yahowah, Yahowah will be envious and zealous, having his passions aroused, Kana, for his land, La'eretzhu, and show mercy for and spare 503, Chamal, his people, Amhu. Yowel 2:18. Unfortunately, by this time, there won't be many left, not his fault, but theirs. Therefore, to reach the receptive before it is too late, in this next pronouncement we learn that Yahowah is providing the answer, offering what is rightfully associated with, the expansive growth related to the harvest of grain, the freshly pressed and renewing wine recently harvested and prepared from the vineyard to be an heir, and the glistening and brilliant oil of pressed olives so that you will be satisfied with the fulfillment. I will explain in a moment. Yahowah, provided the answer by responding, Anna, and he said to the people of his family, Wa Amar La Amhu, please pay attention, Hina, I am reaching out to you by sending you, Shalak La Adam, that which is associated with the expansive growth related to the harvest of grain, Eth Ha-Dagon, the freshly pressed and renewing wine recently harvested and prepared from the vineyard to be an heir, Waha Thyrosh, and the glistening and brilliant oil from pressed olives, Waha Itzahar, so that you will be satisfied with the fulfillment, Saba, of this, Ethu. And I will no longer allow, Lo, Nathan, you to ever again be, Adam, Aud, taunted and insulted, Churfa, among the foreigners and nations, Ba Hagawim. Yowel 2:19. Wheat and barley are synonymous with harvested souls. Like grapes becoming wine and olives producing oil, grains must be separated from the rest of the plant and then crushed to make bread. Abib, which starts the countdown to the 7-mode micro-EY, based upon barley being green and growing, and wheat is symbolic of the mature and more valuable standing grain which is harvested on Shabuah. It is a satisfying result being prepared and produced by our God. 504 While on the subject of doggone grain, in Dabarim/words 8:8, Chitta wheat, to project maturity, was listed first and, thus, considered the most valuable product of the land before Esera barley, tempestuous circular reasoning, Jephon tendrils of grapes, a bent vine, Taina figs, opportune time to approach, Rimon pomegranates, to be lifted up, Zayeth shemen olives and their oil, shining and growing, and Dabash honey, the word. This prioritization gives special meaning to the upcoming harvest. You should act to capitalize upon, Asa, you should do what is required by expending the considerable effort needed to accomplish the purpose, the feast, Wachag, the celebration, of Shabuah, the promise of the Shabat, Shabuah, the oath of weeks and 7 sevens, for you all to approach, La'ada, as a Bikurim firstfruits, Bikurim, for firstborn children, Katzer harvest, Katzer, ingathering and reaping when time is short and the circumstances are vexing, of Chitim wheats. Chitim, of mature and valued grains known for projecting themselves, standing up prominently, and as a Chag celebration, Wachag, feast, of the Asif ingathering, Asif, gathering of the harvest, collected, assembled together, brought up, withdrawn, and removed, at the turning point at the end, to Kufa, completely encompassing by coming round full circle in the fixed order, course, trajectory, and cycle of things in the completeness of time, to change, Shana. To be different than that which has been repetitive over the years. Shemoth/names/Exodus 34 verse 22. Now that we better understand the nature of the Shabuah harvest, when it will occur, and who will benefit as the grain is gathered and removed, in Yowel 2:19, Thyrosh is defined as a current pressing of grapes recently harvested from the vineyard. It offers all of the flavors of fresh wine, with just enough fermentation to 505 eliminate pathogens, making it safe, even if the water in the region has been tainted. The vineyard is along the ridgeline of Tzion on Moriah, between Daud's home and that of Yahowah and the covenant family. And it is, therefore, Daud, who served as the Pesach, our Passover lamb who is represented by Thyrosh and through whom we receive our inheritance. And it is the Messiah and Son of God who is not only the answer, but who is being resent for our benefit. The Itzahar glistening oil is the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit. She is returning to facilitate the 3 harvests, none of which would be possible without her. She represents Yahuwah's feminine and maternal attributes and is associated with olive oil for many reasons. These include the realization that it is the principal ingredient in anointing, and that it provided the purest, cleanest, and most brilliant light at the time this was revealed. Olive trees are the longest lived and most firmly rooted in Israel, producing the most valuable fruit, which is why the final 2 witnesses are compared to branches of an olive tree. And the 2 most relevant of these, especially at this time, are Daud, who as the Tzemot branch is the main branch of the tree of lives, and the Choder, who is a smaller, secondary shoot from this branch. Yada is the Choder. The Spirit's role in preparing him for this mission is detailed throughout the 11th chapter of Yasha'ah. Deliverance is from Isaiah. The best news of all is that by working together on behalf of Yahuwah and his people, we prevail, providing a satisfying fulfillment of these prophecies. So, as a direct result, Yehudim will return to Yah, and as they do, Yahuwah will respond. I will avoid any association with and remove, Ratchak, the invading militants whose objectives are concealed along with their use of stealth, Eth Hatzapani, from within and over you, Min, Al-Adam. 506 Then I will drive him and banish him, Nadakhu, into a realm, El-Eretz, which is parched, Tsaya, and lifeless and deserted desolation, Washamma. With his appearance facing toward, Eth-Pana, the sea, Ha-Yam, from the east, Ha-Kadmoni, he will meet his demise at the conclusion of his journey, Wasofhu, at the sea, El-Hayam, in the end, Acharon. And his stench, Wabiashu, will rise up, Allah, and his putrid smell, Watsakanahu, will ascend, Allah, because, ky, he has acted, La, Asa, boastfully, Gadol. Yawel 2:20. Such will be the end of Islamic militarism. All the Muslims in the world are no match for Yahuwah. He will do what the IDF could not. We are now free to walk about and enjoy the planet. Fear not and do not be awed, Al-Yair, land of Adam, Adama. Be glad, Gyl, and show a positive attitude, Wasamak, because, ky, Yahuwah, Yehovah has done and will continue to do, La, Asa, that which enables our growth, Gadol. Yawel 2:21. In Beres-YTH/Genesis we find that animals were integrated into the Eden experience such that Adam was able to interact and communicate with them. Come Sukkah in year 6000 Yah, less than 10 years from this writing, we will be able to do the same. The earth will all be restored to the conditions enjoyed in Eden. Do not be distressed or concerned, Al-Yair, animals of the open environs, Behema Sadi, because, ky, the beautiful pastures and lovely dwelling places, Na, of the barren wastelands, Midbar, will be verdant and growing, Dasha. Surely, ky, the tree, Esh, will lift up and bear, Nasa, its fruit, Purihu. The fig tree, Taina, and the vine, Wajephan, give, Nathan, their vigor and strength, Chaelhem. Yawel 2:22. Rejoice over these favorable circumstances, Gyl, 507 children of Zionists, Beni Tzion. Demonstrate a positive attitude, Wasamak, with, Ba, Yahuwah, Yehovah, your God, Elohim Ada, for, ky, he has provided for you, Nathan La Adam, that which is associated with the autumn rains through a teacher who communicates what you need to know about the Torah to live, Mora, so that you can be right and thus vindicated, La Tzedakah. He has brought down, Yered, for you, La Adam, an abundant shower, Jizam, of guidance and instruction, pouring out what you should be contemplating regarding the Torah's teaching and directions, communicating as a teacher what you need to know, Mora, about being gleaned and growing thereafter, Malkosh, as was intended in the beginning, returning to where it all began, Ba Harishon. Yawel 2:23. The threshing floors, Ha-Goran, will be filled, male, with pure grain, symbolic of the most radiant children, Bar. And fresh, new wine, sweeter with less fermentation, Thyrosh, will overflow, suck, the presses and vats, Yakeb, along with olive oil, Yachar. Yawel 2:24. I will reconcile and restore by fulfilling my promises, Washalem, on your behalf, La Adam, the years, Eth Hashana, which, Asher, suddenly disappeared, Ha-Arbe, and were devoured, Akal. Yawel 2:25, then you shall be nourished, Akal. And you shall be overwhelmingly satisfied, Saba, radiating a clear and brilliant light while cheering, Halal, the name, Eth Shem, of Yahuwah, your God, Elohim Adam, who, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, has acted and will engage, Asa, marvelously, Pala, with you, I'm Adam. So never again will my people be humiliated or disrespected, Wallo Baush am Eni La Aulam. Yawel 2:26. 508 It will be as I have shared because this is what Yahuwah has promised. And all of this will play out during the decade between October 7th, 23 and October 7th, 33. Are you ready? When Yahuwah speaks of being with Yisrael, he is identifying with the best of his people, beginning with Abraham and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Jacob and Leah, and then on to the likes of Moses, Yahusha, Caleb, Shamuel, Daud, Yawel, Elia, Yashaya, Yirmiah, Zachariah, and Malachi. And his family now includes the children of the covenant who were led home by Yada Yahowah. These are God's people. And you will know, Yada, that I am in the midst, ky Karab Eni, of Yisrael. I am, Eni, Yahuwah, your God, Elohim Ada, and there is no other, Ein Aud. My family, Eni, will never be disapproved of experienced distress, Lo, Baush, again throughout the remainder of time, La Aulam. Yawel 2:27. This is occurring now, in advance of the Shabuah harvest. And it will occur again beginning on the 1st of Abib at the midpoint of the time of Israel's troubles as Yada heralds the return of Yisrael. And then, like now, there will be a chorus of voices calling Yehudim out of Babylon and back to Yahowah. To participate, we must listen to our God and then share his testimony. And, it will literally come to pass at that very moment, during the last days, therefore, I will pour out, Shapak, my spirit, Ruach Eni, upon, all, Kol, who hear and proclaim the message, Basar, and they will be inspired by the Spirit, Nabath Ruach. Your sons, Ben Adam, and your daughters, Bath Adam, as well as your elderly, Zakan Adam, will have their thoughts guided by divine revelations and be empowered as a result, Shalom. Your young will become capable, mature 509-foot Adam, by choosing to continually witness, observing and considering, these communications from God, Chizion. Yawel Joel 2 verse 28. And also, Wagam, upon, those who work, Ha-ebed, and upon, those engaged in service to the family, Shafcha, in those days, Ba Hayam Hahem, I will bestow, Shapak, my spirit, Ruach Eni. Yawel 2:29. As the world collapses all around Israel, there will be a revival in the promised land with the chosen people. Open and declutter your mind, focus your eyes on the Torah and prophets as they are presented and explained throughout Yada Yahowah, listen to God, and then respond. Let's sing his son's songs. This year is unique in that there will be signs in the sky with a total solar eclipse on the 1st of Abib, March 31st, 2033, demarking the first day of the 120th Yawbel year 6000 Yah. 2 weeks later, as we celebrate Passover the evening of the 13th and unyeasted bread on the 14th of April, 2033, there will be a total lunar eclipse visible in Israel. Then on the first day of the 7th month, heralding the Yom Teruah harvest, there will be a second solar eclipse on Friday, September 23, 2033. The fourth eclipse will be lunar and occur 15 days later on the Shabat of October 7th to acknowledge the celebration of Sukkah. We are not told when Yawel Yahowah is God was inspired to memorialize these profound prophecies regarding our time. The most logical conclusion is that he was in the final succession and, thus, immediately before Zechariah and Malachi. Through him, God said, Then, I will provide, Nathan, signs, Mopheth, in the heavens, Ba Hashemaim, and on the earth, Ba Ha-eretz blood, dam, and fire, ets, along with columns of smoke, Timrah. Yawel 2:30, the sun, Ha-shemesh, will become weaker and unreliable 5:10, Hafak, and thus darker by being obscured, Lachoshek. And the moon, Ha-yerich, will be bloody red, dam, before the vitally important and awe-inspiring day, Yam Ha-gadal Wah-yar, of Yahowah's appearance, Pana Yahowah, arrives, Bow. Yawel/Yahowah is God 231. Beyond the four eclipses, these additional atmospheric occlusions are possible: nuclear war, supervolcano eruptions, an asteroid strike, a reversal of the Earth's magnetic field, or catastrophic fires driven by excessive winds, global warming, and drought, even a massive solar storm or supernova explosion targeting our planet. Fortunately, Yahowah is offering an all-expense-paid trip out of harm's way. And it shall come to pass at that moment in time, that all who, to receive the benefits of the relationship, Kol Asher, call out to meet, Kara, in the name, Ba Shem, of Yahowah, Yehovah, will be spared and delivered, protected from danger and saved from harm, Malat. Indeed, with the mountain of the signs posted along the way, Ba Hart Zion, and in Jerusalem, Ba Ha-Yerushalayim, there will be, deliverance for a remnant, Peleda, just as, Ka Asher, Yahowah, Yehovah, has promised, Amar. And among the survivors within this remnant, Ba Ha-Sered, will be those benefiting from the relationship whom, Asher, Yahowah, has invited and welcomed, Kara. Yawel 2:32. I strongly encourage you to be among them. Look and notice, because, indeed, in those days, Ba Ha-Yamim Ha-Hem, and during this particular time, Waha Ba F Ha-Hai, when, for the benefit of the relationship, Asher, I return to restore, Shub, the fortunes, freedom, and property, Shabat, of Yehuda, and Yerushalayim 5:11, Yerushalayim. Yawel/Joel 3 verse 1. Then, I will collect and assemble, Kabats, all of the Gentile nations, Kol Hagawim, and bring them down, Yeredhem, to the valley, Emek, of Yehoshaphat Yahowah judges, Yehoshaphat. And I will enter into judgment against them, Shapat Imhem, their, Sham, on behalf of my people, Am Eni, and my inheritance, Nakla Eni, Yisrael individuals who engage and endure with God, Yisrael. They have scattered and dispersed them, Pazer, among the Gentile nations, Ba Hagawim, and my land, Eretz Eni, they have divided and apportioned, Chalak. Yawel 3:2. With few exceptions, world leaders, the media, and academia oppose Israel and advocate appeasing Muslims by rewarding the terrorists with a state carved out of their land. For doing so, there will be a price to pay. And the children of Yehuda Jews, Ben Yehuda, and the children of Yerushalayim Jerusalem, Ben Yerushalayim, you have betrayed, exchanging them, Makar, for the descendants of that which is Grecian, Ben Ha-Yahwani, for the express purpose, Laman, of removing them, Rachakhem, from their own territory and bounds, Min, Al-Gabulhem. Yawel 3:6. There is only one place on earth where a military is necessary and beneficial due to the proximity, quantity, and insanity of the nation's foes and vicious neighbors. Although for it to prevail, the generals must be replaced by more responsible leaders. Read and recite this, Kara Zoth, against the foreigners, Ba Ha-Gawim. Be set apart and prepared, Kadash, to engage in battle, Milchama. Alert and arouse, the most valiant, accomplished leaders and battle-hardened fighters, Gibor. Approach and 5:12 Rise up, Nagash Allah, every man who is able and equipped to fight, Kol, Ysh ha Milchama. Yawel 3:9. Beat, Katat, your plowshares, Adam, into swords, Lacherub, and your pruning hooks, Wa Masmira Adam, into lances, Laromak. Let the weak and disabled, Chalash, say, Amar, I am a capable fighter and honorable defender, Jibor Eni. Yawel 3:10, provide assistance without hesitation, Ush. Then come, Wa Bao, all of you foreign invaders, Kol Hagawim, from all around, Min Sabib. Assemble there, Kabat Sham. Yahowah, Yahowah, bring down, Nakath, your most prominent warrior, Jibor Ada. Yawel 3:11. The foreigners, Gawim, will be aroused, stirring themselves up, going off, Allah, to the valley, Emek, of Yahoshaphat Yahowah's judgment, Yahoshaphat. There, Sham, I will enter into judgment against them, Washapat Imhem. There, Sham, I will sit, Yashab, to judge, Shapat, all of the foreigners, Kol Hagawim, from all over, Min Sabib. Yawel 3:12. Extend, Shalak, the reaping sickle, Magal, because, Ky, the harvest, Katzer, is ripe, Bahal. Return and be included, Bow, to demonstrate your dominion, Rada, because the winepress, Gath, is full, male. The vats, Ha-Yakeb, have reached their ideal capacity, Shuk, because the consequence of them being wrong is great and there are so many of them who are immoral and miserable, Ky Rab Areahem. Yawel 3:13. Vast multitudes of uproarious and confused people making an intolerable racket, Hamon, are in, Ba, the deep depression, Emek, of judgment, condemnation, and punishment, Cherets. For indeed, Ky, the day, Yaum, of Yahowah, Yahowah, is approaching, Kerob, in, Ba, the valley, Emek, of the 5:13 verdict determining the sentence for those whose guilt is being assessed, Cherets. Yawel 3:14. Yahowah, roars, Shaiji, from, Min, Sion the signs posted along the way, Sion. He offers his voice, Wa Nathan Kaulhu, from, Min, Yerushalayim the source of teaching and guidance on reconciliation, Yerushalayim. The atmosphere trembles and shakes, Wa Reash Shemaim, along with the earth, Wa Eretz, while, Wa Yahowah, provides protection and shelter, Mokseh, for his family, La Emhu, along with, Wa, a safe situation, Ma'aus, for the children of Yisrael, Beni Yisrael. Yawel 3:16. Therefore, Wa, ye should know, Yada, that, Ky, I am, Eni, Yahowah. Your God, Elohim Adam, lives, he resides and remains, Shakan, in Sion, B8 Sion, my set-apart mountain, Har Kodesh Eni. Then also, Wa, Yerushalayim the source of teaching and guidance on reconciliation, Yerushalayim, will be, Haya, set apart and special, Kodesh. Unauthorized and illegitimate strangers, Zar, will never pass through it again, Lo, Abar Ba Hi, Out. Yahowah is God 3:17. This is the day which Yahowah has been addressing. It will be like no other. For the surviving remnant of Yisrael, God's blessings will be showered upon them. But for foreigners, should they be Christians, Muslims, progressives, or communists, their weapons of war will be turned to mush, destroyed while their souls are either exterminated or separated. Yahowah has prepared his provision for reconciliation even though it has been a long time coming from a human perspective. Nearly 2,600 years would pass between inspiring these words and being able to hold his children in his arms. This grieves God. When we return to 5:14 Haushah and read what led to this, what follows is like a father anguishing over his wayward children. What shall I do, Ma Asa, how can I engage with you, La Ada, Ephraim, worthless carbon? What shall I do, Ma Asa, how can I engage, Cal imperfect, with you, La Ada, for you and to draw near you, Yehuda, beloved of Yah. For your loyalty, affection for the relationship, and devotion, Wachisit Adam, your goodness, faithfulness, and desire, are like a morning cloud, Ka Anan Boker, similar to a degenerative fog of vapor or a reflection upon billowing smoke before the sunrise, and like the dew, Wa Kahatau, similar to the evening mist, which passes away early, Shakim Halak. Haushah/he saves/Hosea 6 verse 4. Yahowah is exceptionally bright, so when he asks a question without providing the answer, there isn't a good one. He had tried personal encounters and talking through prophets, encouraging them and chiding them, rewarding his children and correcting them. Nothing worked. Their devotion to the relationship had the lifespan of a fruit fly. Chesed is used 26 times in the 136th Mizmor/Psalm to demonstrate that Yahowah's love and mercy are eternal and that his faithfulness and kindness serve as the foundation for his actions. Since we were made in his image, these are the characteristics that once exemplified our nature. They were as deep and enduring as the dew on a hot day. And so while Yada Yahowah may not be the cup of matzo ball soup Yehudim would have preferred for God to have dished up, it is considerably more nourishing than what they have been swallowing. Unfortunately for them, there was no one among the chosen people willing to listen to God and respond on behalf of his people. Nonetheless, our collaboration has been extensive and enlightening, providing the world with many thousands of unique 515 insights, many profound, some essential. And while this is what we have accomplished together, it comes after a long intermission. Therefore, Ken, to be honest and truthful, doing what is just, right, and correct, I have hewn out that which is engraved, Chatseb, I have carved out the letters using an implement to quarry, Cal perfect, through the prophets, Ba Hanabi. I will strike them with deadly intent, Haraghem, I will for a time seek their demise, Cal perfect, by the words of my mouth, Ba Emerpeth Heni, with the declarations and promises I have spoken. My decision regarding you, Wa Mishpat Ada, my judgment pertaining to you, is to withdraw the light, or Yatsa, is to take away and remove the enlightenment, Cal imperfect. How Shah/he liberates/Hosea 6 verse 5. Yahweh withdrew his light from Yisrael at the time of Hoshea's writing, 770 to 720 BCE, and he removed the source of further enlightenment from Yehuda after Malachi in 447 BCE. There was no one else willing to listen, no one to serve as a prophet, no one to share the light. And even if Yahweh had intervened to speak directly to his wayward people, they would have turned a deaf ear. As proof, Yahweh allowed his son to fulfill Pesach, and Yehudim not only rejected him, they adapted their religion to negate his gift of life. If you are a Jew and reading this, it should make you angry with your people and cry out in sympathy for what they have caused Yahweh and Dowd to endure by not only rejecting their gift, but by denying its very existence. By contrast, KY, it is certainly true that instead, I genuinely desire and actually want to experience, chafes, I delight and take pleasure in, I have a fondness and affection for, perfect, loyalty, a sense of devotion 5:16 toward the relationship, and love, wachisat Adam, faithfulness and favoritism, affection and desire, loving kindness and solidarity, rather than sacrifice, wallo, zebach, butchered animals or slaughtered donations, in addition to an understanding, wadadh, the thoughtful acquisition of information, systematic procurement of knowledge leading to comprehension through perception and discernment, of God, Elohim, instead of injustice and lifting up perverse offerings, min, ola, rather than promoting unrighteousness and uplifting evil. How Shah/he delivers/Hosea 6 verse 6. The sacrifice has been made, so it is insulting to believe we can contribute toward it as if Dowd's role was insufficient. As a result, there are very few things God wants from us. The first is that we come to know and understand who he is, what he is offering, and what he expects in return. He wants us to invest the time to thoughtfully process the information he has provided. By doing so, we will come to appreciate the nature of the berith and perceive how its benefits are enabled through the y. Then he would like us to respond intelligently and remain steadfast thereafter while we share what we have learned with others. These are simple, baseline requests considering that we owe our lives and the existence of the universe to him. They are even more fundamental when compared to all he has done for us. You will notice that he is not asking us to sacrifice anything or offer something other than access to our minds and hearts. He is not soliciting religious conversion, faith, or donations but, instead, a willingness to think and respond appropriately. By eschewing sacrifices and offerings, Yahweh is not eliminating his y. With them, the menu is provided for our consumption and nourishment. In the volumes devoted to the y, Katzer, and Mode we learned that the meals are prepared for the family. Only that which 5:17 is inedible is symbolically sent off to God by way of burning the remainder. These are not bribes to elicit favorable weather, bountiful crops, or victory over an enemy, not to mention, it is a little too late for that. This next statement brings me to tears. But they, like Adam, Wahem Ka Adam, so they, in a manner consistent with the first man created in God's image with a functioning neshama conscience, were displeased and transgressed, passing by and improperly disregarding, Abar, arrogantly departing from by seeking to repeal, thereby being separated and alienated by being self-reliant and meddling in opposition to the agreement between parties pursuant to the covenant, berith, the familial relationship agreement. Behold, Sham, see how, they have been unfaithful and betrayed me, bagad ba, they have acted deceitfully, cheating on the relationship with me, immorally, treacherously, and offensively committing religious infidelity against me, even to the point of wearing deceptive clothing. How Shah/he protects/Hosea 6 verse 7. Yisrael's rebellion against Yahweh is being compared to Adam Abar transgressing the berith covenant in Gan Eden. Therefore, based upon this pronouncement, we must conclude that, even though it was not specifically mentioned, Yahweh established a relationship with Adam which was structured to simulate the covenant he cut 2,000 years later with Abraham. As such, the garden was God's home on earth and Adam was perceived to be his son. Further, since berith was specifically cited, their covenant was replete with conditions and benefits, all of which would have been similar to what we witnessed being explained as we progressed through Beres YTH Genesis. Therefore, Adam was not mindlessly reacting to Chaw's decision. He Abar was at cross purposes with 5:18 God, became uncomfortable with their relationship, perhaps somehow overwhelmed by their arrangement, and then tried to alter the conditions of their agreement. We know these things because the terms of the berith are well established and there are many ways to render Abar, some wonderful and others objectionable. They all need to be considered since Abar's primary definition, which is, to pass over, does not apply in this context. Adam was booted out the door at the time, not welcomed through the Pesach Passover door the Messiah opened to extend our lives. Spelled the same way up to the addition of the hand of God, Ibri means, Hebrew, the people and language of revelation. The name is derived from Eber, which speaks of being beyond the ordinary and on the other side of the divide. Adam would experience both sides. When the letters, reading right to left, are pronounced Abar, it is typically rendered, to cross through, to pass over, and to travel around, although it is frequently rendered as, transgress, seek to repeal, or to rid. However, we must be mindful that Abar is also used throughout the Torah, Mashal, and Mizmor by the likes of Moses and Dowd to speak of being angry, having strong feelings of displeasure, being intensely averse and then acting improperly by arrogantly meddling in an agreement between two parties. Should these connotations apply to this especially derogatory use of Abar, then we have been afforded a unique insight into the mindset which developed in the garden between Adam and Yahweh as well as the attitude which may have led to Judaism replacing the covenant. Let's keep in mind that this is the very reason Yahweh gave Towrah to Adam. He was given the opportunity to choose her over him, both of them, or neither of them. And based on his response to Towrah's offer, he selected her 5:19 apart from and instead of Yahweh. Therefore, they would have to make a home for themselves, to fend for themselves. As we have learned, it did not go well. They were as bad at being covenant participants as they were at being parents. These things can be related. This now leaves us with the comparison between Adam abandoning the covenant for some or all of these reasons, and Yisrael doing the same. From Yahowah's perspective, they didn't just abandon him, they betrayed him. Their choice of religion over relationship was offensive to God. He did his part, and they failed to honor their commitments, making them deceitful cheaters. And when we combine the worst of Abar with the best of Begad, it is apparent that Yisrael became egotistical and self-reliant. As they moved away from God, they became averse to him. Holding a grudge, they began to meddle with the covenant, changing things away from their intent into something more befitting the religion they adored. Their love for Yahowah grew cold, vanished altogether, and then became betrayal. Gilead, their testimony stinks. Gilad, a pile of rubbish used as a defiant witness. From Gal, a mound of rubble heaped up as turbulent waves of Gala, hostile and defiant. Gel, filthy feces as an Ed, witnesses. This place, Kiria, is a community of plotting and promoting. Pile, devising and planning. A litany of false words, idolatrous worship and corruptions. Aoun/A1. Wickedness and immorality, a place of iniquity, perversion, and deceit, tracked with insidiously deceitful. And bloody footprints, a Kogmin dam, with a visual trail of cunning and bloodshed. Acting like raiders and robbers, Wakagadud, similar to a marauding, murdering, and thieving gang of bandits, even terrorists who harass for plunder. The priests, Kohanim, band together in illicit religiosity. Cheber, form an alliance to promote their authority and enchant the gullible with their spells. 520 waiting in ambush. Chaka, for an individual. Aish. Along the way, Derek, to Shechem back. Shechem, the first to rise to shoulder the burden. They are murderous. Ratza, they inflict mortal agony, bone-shattering pain, and commit premeditated murder. Indeed, KY, they are villainous in perpetrating that which is shameful. Zima, Asa, they engage in decadence and religious idolatry. Hawshah 6:8-9. Yahowah is reaffirming that his issue with Yisrael is Judaism. Religious leaders continue to plot against the people with their litany of false words and corrupt religious worship, or should we say worship. God is calling these clerics a thieving gang of robbers whose bloody footprints remain incriminating. They have robbed millions of Jews of their most valuable commodity, their souls. It is shameful. By referencing Gilead, their testimony stinks, Yahowah is holding his nose as he points in the direction of the Babylonian Talmud. He is predicting that it will be Gilad, a pile of crap used as defiant testimony. The rabbis have become a witness against themselves. Theirs is a litany of corrupt religious ideas and false claims. Yirmiah/Jeremiah uses Gilad to emphasize that man's remedies are incapable of healing a diseased soul. Is there no medicinal balm, Hatseiri Hein, in Gilad, the pile of disgusting witnesses, B.A. Gilad? Is it possible that there is no healing there, I'm Rapha Ein Sham? What is the reason then, Medoah, that the restoration, Baruka, of the women among my people, Bath Am Penny, has not occurred and been celebrated, lo, Allah? Yirmiah/Jeremiah 8:22. Then speaking of the false prescriptions the religious are offering, Yahowah asks another question. You, virginal women, Bethulah Bath, of this 521 terrible religious oppression, Mitzrayim, choose to ascend, Allah, to Gilad, the heap of filthy witnesses, B.A. Gilad, and then decide to accept, Walakach, the balm, Seri. It is in vain, as if pleading with worthless gods and false witnesses, La Hashawa, that you have tried innumerable rabbinic, Rabbah, treatments, cures, and remedies, Raphuah. There has been no restoration, not even a conduit to a cure, or a means to ascend, Ta'ala, Ein, for you, La Adh. Yirmiah 46:11. With these insights gleaned, Hawshah's 6th chapter concludes with a final indictment. In the house, B.A. Baith, within the home, of Yisrael, those who struggle with and contend against God, I have seen, I have witnessed, something horrible, Sharura, that which is shocking, defiling, and dreadful, well beyond the scope of reason. Ephraim's, Lot Ephraim, worthless ash, religious prostitution and immoral whoredom are there, Sham Zanath, infidelity and harlotry where affection is feigned for money is renown. Those who contend with God, Yisrael, those who struggle against the Almighty, become defiled, polluted, and unfit, tame, improper and unclean. Hawshah/he delivers/Hosea 6:10. However, Gam, nonetheless, for you, La Ada, Yehudah the beloved of Yehudah, those who are related to Yah, a harvest, Katzer, time for reaping and ingathering, is appointed, Shydh, set in place, constituted, and fixed in time, during which, B.A., it will be me who will restore the fortunes, Shub any Shabuth, of my people, Penny. Hawshah 6:11. This is a particularly bold pronouncement. Ephraim has been horrible, acting like a religious whore. Having been contentious against God, they are now unfit to be seen in his presence. And they have sickened Yisrael. And yet, Yahowah has promised that there will be a 522 harvest. The time is appointed when the reaping of God's people will occur. Yehudim the beloved of Yah will be the principal beneficiaries, with those of us working with Yahowah calling them home to restore their relationship. And as we know, the timing of the fulfillment of these 3 harvests was set long ago. These days include Shabuah in year 5997 Yah, May 22, 2026, and Teruah and Yom Kippurim in year 6000 Yah, September 25 and October 2, 2033. And while that is how this story transitions from the world of man to the realm of God for Yehudim, there must also be hope for Yisrael because the day of reconciliations is always plural. In addition to reuniting Yahowah with Yehudah, Yisrael will be brought back into the fold. And for that to occur, the religious whore dwelling in so many of them will have to be exorcised. For this reason, Yahowah has asked us to speak out and address his people so that they reconsider and reject their political and religious beliefs. Choose to change your thinking and relent, and you will be comforted and consoled. Nakam. By electing to reconsider, altering your opinions regarding what is true, you will find relief from sorrows and distress and will be encouraged. Peel imperative. Your choices will cause you to experience this result. My people, Beni, my family, speaking of Yehuda and Yisrael, promises your God, Omar Elohim Adam, declares your Almighty One. Yashayah / Yah save / Isaiah 40 verse 1. Speak, Dabber, desire to communicate, from the heart, exercising good judgment, Al-Leb, with the proper intent, motivation, and thoughtfulness, unto Yerushalayim, the source from which teaching and guidance regarding reconciliation flow. Make an announcement to her, summoning her by reciting to her, Kara El Hai, call out an invitation to her, 523 proclaiming this by reading to her, that, indeed, surely, her battles, Saba, Hai, her time of enduring the presence of armies and her military campaigns, will be finished and completed, male, fulfilled and satisfied and, thus, will have ended and be over. The consequence of her missing the way, A1, her propensity to be wrong by perverting and twisting the truth, will be pardoned through restitution, causing her to be accepted, regaining favor, Ratza, she will be reconciled because this will be resolved by making amends, compensation will have been paid, leading her to being in agreement, the relationship restored, because she will have obtained, Lakach, she has grasped, from the hand, Min Yad, of Yahowah, a double portion, Kefil. For all of her, Ba errant and mistaken religious ways, Chada, offensive and perverted propositions. Yashayah / Yah liberates / Isaiah 40 verse 2. Since this transformation is just beginning and still ongoing, and the battles continue, Yashayah was addressing God's family, Yehuda and Yisrael, at a future time when the people are no longer religious, and the nation's final foe has been foiled. So, the fullness of this prophecy will coincide with the fall YYV5C6 in 2033. Yisrael has most assuredly not changed her collective mindset toward Yahowah, and the people have not been comforted. Her struggles continue, with waves of agony and degradation crashing down upon them. Jews suffered unimaginable torment at the hands of Rome right after Daud's fulfillment of Chag Matzah in 33 CE. More recently, she was forced to fight for her survival as Europeans engaged in ethnic cleansing, aka genocide, during the last World War, a double portion, indeed. She fought for her independence in 1948 and then for her very existence in 1967 and 1973. The abuse from Muslims has been ongoing, with unrelenting terror perpetrated against Jews. And the gates of hell were reopened on October 7, 23. 524 further, there are enormous battles that remain for Yisrael and Yehudim, including an all-Islamic assault 100 times more destructive than the last. And that assault will trigger World War. Therefore, we can conclude with absolute confidence based upon Yashayah 40:2 that what follows in Yashayah 40:3 was not fulfilled 2,000 years ago as Christians, desperate for validation, claim. It, therefore, did not apply to the imaginary Jesus or Baptist. It was not written to predict someone taking a bath in the Yarden Jordan. The facts do not change just because billions of Christians falsely believe that their Bible is the inerrant word of God. For the increasing number who identify with Jews for Jesus, find affinity with Messianics, or promote the mythos associated with Yeshua, the context does not allow this to be projected back to the Christian myth and misnomer. Get over it and get with the prophetic program. God is addressing a witness whose voice will announce his arrival in 2033 and, therefore, identifying someone speaking for him today because he wants his people to listen and come home. A voice, Kau, calls out, inviting and summoning, Kara, reads and recites, calling out and welcoming, proclaiming by name, in the wilderness where the word is questioned, Ba Hamidbar, in a desolate world and sparsely inhabited land providing little or no sustenance, turn around and choose to change direction so that you are prepared to face, Panah, alter your approach and perspective so that you are ready to look at, the way, Derek, the path and conduct, of Yahowah, then. Accurate transliteration of the name of our Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence and our Shalom, reconciliation. And through the dark, noxious, and confusing realm of the Arabs of Araba, Araba, and within the unenlightened and unassociated desert steppe of 525 Arabia, through the nocturnal swarms of irritating pests, and within the gloomy fabric of commingling irrationally woven, to return to where the Torah was revealed, the wise from 1 QSA, you should be right. Choosing to make a correct and straightforward assessment for, Yatsar, choose to be direct, reliable, and steadfast, standing upright without wavering, demonstrating the integrity to present an accurate and trustworthy, a raised highway, an elevated walkway and thoroughfare, Masila, an uplifting and upright path to show the way to ascend, from Ma, to ponder the implications of Salal, being lifted up, esteemed, and valued, to approach our God, La Elohi Anaknu, to move toward and draw near our Almighty One. Yashayah / Yah save / Isaiah 40 verse 3. At this time, as we approach the fulfillment of the final 4 YYV5C6 and Yahowah's return with his son, Daud, Yada is the lone individual doing as this prophecy portends, and he is speaking boldly and as specified. In the fullness of Kara, he is reading and reciting Yahowah's testimony in a spiritually lifeless and lightless world where few people know what comprises the word of God, and fewer still, what those words actually mean. So, by accurately presenting and credibly explaining his testimony, he is summoning Yisrael and Yehudim back into the Berith relationship by way of Yahowah's invitations to be called out and meet. For the first time in millennia, God's people are changing their belligerent and ignorant attitudes and are prepared to turn around and face the proper path home. 22 years ago, and again this past year, Yada was asked to confront Yisrael's most debilitating and deadly foe, Islam. And as a result, he has compiled the most comprehensive and irrefutable attack on Satan's diabolical religion ever attempted. Having now cleared the path from Choreb along the eastern shore of the Gulf of Aqaba, through Petra in the Great Rift Valley, and to Yerushalayim, God's people can return to the Torah 526 without having to walk through the infected religious swamp. The dark and demented, noxious and confusing nature of Arabian Islam has been exposed and condemned, such that Yisraelites can be free of this foe as they become right with God. As was the case with me a score of years ago, I had to learn who God was not before I could properly perceive who he actually is. With religion and politics swept aside, with the words properly translated and explained, there are no longer any impediments on the thoroughfare which has been provided to approach Yahowah. Since it is an essential aspect of appreciating the specificity of God's assessment of what was future history 2,700 years ago, you should know that Araba is the name of a place, not the word for wilderness, as it is commonly and errantly translated. Specifically, Araba depicts a region bordered in the north by the Sea of Galilee, in the west by the opposite bank of the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and the Great Rift Valley, in the south by the Red Sea, and in the east extending into the desert plateau of Arabia. This is explained in Joshua 12 verse 1 and in 2 Samuel 17 verse 16, while also mentioned in Psalm 68 verse 5. Araba, a feminine noun, denotes a pledge regarding women which, for those who have read to this point in God-damn religion, takes us back to the first of the two pledges of Aqaba in Araba at the outset of the Islamic era. The first pledge was for pagan Arabs to protect Muhammad as they would their women. It led to the second, which defines Islam as a pledge to wage war against all mankind. As the feminine of Arab, the root speaks of a noxious swarm of irritating lice, gnats, and flies. This infestation was not only one of the 10 plagues inflicted upon Pharaoh Thutmose the Great, it was prophetic of what is to come when Muslim mujahideen next swarm into Israel. 527-foot Arab also describes the ethnicity of the pests who were suitably ignorant, irrational, immoral, vicious, and greedy to have accepted and promulgated Islam. It is the culture of the Phakistinians. As Arabia and Arabic, Arab is indicative of the land of the religion's birth and ascension as well as the language in which its Quran was recited. As such, Arab is defined as foreigners of a religious, ethnic, and cultural group disassociated from Jews and without rights in Israel. These same letters, Ayin Rosh Beth, when vocalized as Arab, speak of a fabric whose threads have been woven together in a pattern which is not logically sustainable. Arab addresses a time very late in the day, near the setting of the sun and ensuing darkness. It is a time of sadness and hopelessness in a discouraged state of gloom. Not surprisingly, Arab and Babel are related and speak of commingling and intermixing good and bad, resulting in social and religious disorder where others join in and become similarly confused. As a verb, to Arab is to make a pledge regarding a bargain, trading one thing for the promise of another at a future date. This is slaughter now, babes later, in Islam. To Arab is to be eager to submit to an individual's commands and adhere to their religious beliefs, coming to their aid as part of the bargain. It is Islam. And therefore, the voice calling out to turn Yisrael back to Yahowah knows a thing or two about those who would prefer to exterminate them instead. In the decade between October 7, 23 and October 7, 33, what is hellish will become heavenly. This will occur in the days between Yom Kippurim and Sukkah in year 6000 Yah. Every depressed place, Kol Gay, shall be raised, Nasa, will be elevated, and each, Wa Kol, lofty place of illicit worship, Har Wa Gibah, shall be brought down, Shafal, will be leveled. 528 And it shall come to be, Wa Haya, it will come to pass, that the insidiously deceitful and deceptive nature of that which is not on the level, Akab, that which is undulating, slippery, and misconstrued, and tends to cause people to teeter, fall away, and go astray, shall be clear-cut and flattened out, La Mishawar, will be smooth, devoid of potholes, becoming upright and straightforward. The uneven terrain of obstructionist conspiracies which make the way impassable, Hariks, the binding tethers of enticing collusions which impede progress, these harmful schemes, even the bumpy ground of intrigue, the snares and plots which hamper and obstruct the way, blocking the path, shall be burst open, Baika, will be shredded. Yahowah saves Isaiah 40 verse 4. No matter how one translates and interprets these words, this has not yet occurred. Therefore, it could not pertain to the misnomer Jesus circa 33 CE. We should expect these miraculous events to transpire commensurate with the re-establishment of Daud's kingdom. On Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations, October 2, 2033 at sunset, guess who is coming to celebrate the Mikra? Then, Wa, the glorious presence, Kabod, the manifestation of power, the splendor and status, the persona and honorable nature, the abundance, value, and rewarding gift, of Yahowah, will be revealed, becoming openly known, Gala, will be exposed, disclosed, and recognized. And, Wa, the good news will be that every living creature, Kol Basar, all flesh will be gladdened, with every man either announcing or receiving the favorable report, will see him, Areya, will view, observe, inspect, and understand him, all together at the same time, Yada, in unity with Yah, all in one accord, now more like Yah, exactly at the same moment. This is true and reliable because, KY, the mouth 529, Peh, of Yahowah, has spoken it, Daber, has said it. Yahowah saves Isaiah 40 verse 5. Despite the fact that Christians throughout the ages have been bamboozled into believing that the prophecy presented in Isaiah 40:3 pertained to the arrival of their Jesus Christ, it undeniably and irrefutably declares that Yahowah's glorious presence shall be revealed and openly known. This did not occur 2,000 years ago but will transpire less than a decade from now. If you are a Jew reading this and do not care what 2.5 billion Christians have been led to believe, I'd encourage you to reconsider. They have misappropriated your prophecies regarding your God, your people, and his return for you with his Son and Messiah. It is vital that you reclaim what they have stolen so that you are among those gathered in Jerusalem to celebrate his arrival. Along the way, if you don't already know them, I strongly suggest you learn the name of the Son of God and your Messiah. A voice urges, Kal, Amar, read and recite, choosing to call out and welcome, Kara, of your own free will issue an invitation and a summons, announce a proclamation, read aloud and designate by name and title. So, I inquired, Wa, Amar, Eni, and then I, Yashaya, said, Eni is from 1QSA, what should I read and recite, Makara, who should I invite to be called out, who should I welcome? At this point, he cited one of Dowd's most beautifully formed lyrics and insights, prophet citing prophet. All of the good news to every living being because flesh, kol ha-basar, every aspect of this message to every inhabitant of the earth because a physical body, is an abode akin to grass, chaser, dwells like hay, dried and brown, needing water to live and grow, ultimately serving as food for other animals. And, wa, their entire benefit, kol chisidhu, their appearance and usefulness, even 530 all of their embarrassing and shameful behavior, is like, ka, can be compared to, the flowery nature of an engraved plaque on a shining memorial, tsyts, an ornamental trophy with a beautifully written inscription or dedication memorializing some achievement, of the field in the open and broad way, sada, of the way which is spread out far and wide. Yashaya 40:6. The abode likened to grass, chaser, withers, yabesh, shrivels, dries up, and is gone. The flowery aspect of the engraved plaque on a shining memorial with its written inscription, tsyts, loses its vitality and fades because it is disdained as foolish, nabal, wears out and decays, and is seen as stupid, senseless and contemptible, when the spirit, YYV5C6, of Yahowah, blows away the forgettable and forgotten, Nasha Bahu, forcefully stirs among the unmemorable, driving them away such that they are no longer recalled. Insightfully and unexpectedly, Akin, truthfully, and as a means to reveal causation, the people, the families, followers, and nations, are an abode akin to grass, chaser, a dwelling like hay, needing water to live and grow. Yashaya 40:7. The abode of grass, chaser, withers and shrivels up, yabesh, dries up and is gone. The flowery written inscriptions on memorial plaques at grave sites, tsyts, the engraved and shining ornamental trophies memorializing prior achievements, are disdained as foolish as they fade away, nabal, loses its sheen and wears out, degrading and decaying because it is seen as senseless and contemptible, but the word, wadaber, of our God, Elohi Panaknu, stands, kyum, is established and confirmed, forever, la, aulam, forevermore, dot. Yashaya/Yasav/Isaiah 40:8. Appreciating this beautiful and artful portrayal of the fragile and limited extent of human life is essential to our 531 well-being. Yahowah is offering us a perfect and eternal extension of this condition by elevating us from material to spiritual, from matter to energy. In this way, we come to better appreciate what God is offering and make the most of our time here and now so that we can capitalize. It is also important that we know where God is returning and to whom. We should also consider who he is bringing along with him and why. And in this regard, the voice is also a herald. Upon the elevated and exalted mountain, Al-Har Gaba, toward the high and exalted mount, ascend, Allah, go and climb up. Sion, the signs posted along the way, Sion, the written directions posted on the path, proclaims the good news as a herald, Basar, brings the positive proclamation, publishing and announcing the glad tidings, for you to approach, La'ada. Powerfully and with authority, Ba coach, mightily with all of your capability in newfound potential, in your vigor and robust nature, even with your restored qualifications as they pertain to your function and purpose, choose to raise your voice, Rum Kal, Ada, of your own volition lift up your vocalizations and verbal pronouncements, hyphal imperative. The object is engaged by the subject such that they are continuously similar in their actions and inclinations, as a Basar bringing the good news as a herald, Basar, proclaiming this positive and uplifting report, publishing and announcing the glad tidings, Peel participle, a verbal adjective which is demonstrative whereby the subject puts the object into action, to Yerushalayim, source from which teaching and guidance, instruction and direction regarding reconciliation flow. Lift up on high, Rum, of your own volition raise up to an even higher elevation, exalting, even increasing the importance of, hyphal imperative, and choose to proclaim 532, Amar, of your own free will, announcing and saying, Kal imperative, fear not, no longer be intimidated, anxious, or apprehensive, Al Yair, do not be frightened or afraid, Kal imperfect Jussiv, cities, Year, the towns and populated places, of Yehuda, the beloved of Yah, those who relate to Yah and are related to Yah. Behold, look up now and see, Hina, pay attention at this moment and notice that here is, your God, Elohi Adam, dot. Yashaya/Yahowah liberates/Isaiah 40:9. Yahowah's focus has always been upon Sion, Yerushalayim, Yehuda, and Yisrael right up to and including the moment of his return. There is no hint of, indeed no room for, a church in Rome, a cathedral in Washington, London, or Paris, nor a mosque in Mecca, actually Petra, but that's another story. God is returning to and for his people, Yehudim in Yerushalayim. Period. End of conversation. And in this regard, let it be known that while misguided and uninformed morons may advocate for the transfer of Jerusalem to the Muslims, when it occurs, their tendency will be short-lived. Behold, Hina, pay attention and notice, right here and right now, Eni, Yahowah, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah, God guided by his Torah, instructions regarding his Haya, existence in our Shalom, reconciliation, the upright one, Idown, the upright pillar of the tabernacle, will arrive, Bow, will come for the harvest, actually pursuing and including on an ongoing basis, Kal imperfect, with an intensely resolute and uncompromising, enabled end. Accomplished, courageous, unyielding, and empowered man steadfastly restoring, encouraging, and strengthening, B.A. Chazak, with a strong and passionate person who is mentally disciplined and a capable leader, who is ready to fight, one who is prepared and capable of repairing and defending, a man who embodies the right character, appropriate status, devotion, and vocal strength 533 to guide with a firm hand, and who is basting the trumpet. And then, this Zeroah, capable arm and one sowing the seeds which take root and grow, Zeroah, who, the prevailing and effective nature, the strength, resolve, and overall ability of this remarkably impactful guide among the flock, this ram who engages and fights to protect and direct his sheep, who with his strong arm is fruitful in his ways, accomplishing the mission, especially when sowing the seeds which advance the purpose of God and his sacrificial lamb, will vividly communicate. By making enlightening comparisons, Mashal will explain the proverbs and parables while sharing the wisdom of the prophets, speaking in memorable ways by making intelligent connections, drawing pictures with words, providing a narrative on the witness while also ridiculing that which deserves contempt and wisely exercising authority to govern, regarding approaching him, Lahu, concerning him. Pay attention, Hina, behold the details and be observant, with him, Ethu, the compensation for this contribution, Sakarhu, the appropriate response and justifiable return offered for these services and steadfast devotion, the repayment and wage due considering the effort, and, his work and just due, indeed, the reward for him doing this, Piulahu, the authority has assigned a proper response and payment for what he has accomplished, is present and appears with him, La. Panahu, is pursuant to his presence, approaching him and facing him, in his very presence, appearing before him. Yashayah/Isaiah 40 verse 10. Because there are several ways to render Chazak and then Zeroah in this prophetic declaration, the person being addressed could be one of four individuals, Yahowah, Daud, Mose, and Yada. However, even though Yahowah's arrival will be Chazak heralded by the blast of a trumpet in harmony with the purpose of Shabuah and 534 Towrah, and he is arriving to Chazak strengthen, I think he is speaking of being accompanied by another individual who is currently relevant. I say this in full recognition that Yahowah has been and can be Chazak firm and resolute, but not on this occasion. The reason is because when comparing the initial iteration of the covenant as it applied when rescuing the children of Yisrael from human oppression to his renewal of the berith upon his return, the distinction was that he was Chazak previously. Therefore, this time he is coming with open arms to embrace his family and not with a firm hand to corral them. Therefore, Chazak applies to someone accompanying him. Since there are only three Zeroah, Mose, Daud, and Yada, we should be anticipating the one who demonstrates these qualities without being so obvious a consideration as to be named. For example, Daud with his character, courage, and capability epitomizes Chazak's strength and he is the preeminent Zeroah, as the Pesach Isle, but his role upon his return with Yahowah is more properly designated by more vaulted credentials. He is the King of Kings, the Messiah, the Son of God, our Savior and Shepherd. And when speaking of him, Yahowah names him. Also, at this time, Daud will be acting not talking. Mose is, to my thinking, the very best among us, the finest example of humankind. And while I think that he will play a leading role in forevermore, I do not think that Yahowah would use Chazak, which speaks of a person who can be harsh at times, to describe him. And since God has not specifically told us that Mose is returning with him or even playing a significant role in the fulfillment of the final four YYV, we should look elsewhere. Moreover, Moses' name appears third most to Yahowah's and Daud's, so we would normally expect Yahowah to use it when addressing the great liberator and prophet. This leaves us with the little Zeroah, Yada, who is the 535 herald, witness, and voice addressed previously in this prophecy. While he is a come lately and isn't qualified to carry Moses or Daud's sandals, he is near and dear to Yashayah because he is devoted to explaining his prophetic testimony to Yisrael such that Yehudim capitalize on all he had to offer. Not only is Yada presented as the voice, Chodar, witness, Naker, Zeroah, and herald throughout Yashayah, but there is an entire chapter devoted to the 7 ways Yahowah is enabling him for this specific mission, something we'll consider momentarily. These things considered, the one proclaiming Yahowah's arrival with Daud will be Chazak empowered, passionate, and mentally tough, truly resolute and uncompromising. But also, God's companion will exude Chazak a powerful influence as a capable leader who is ready to fight. He is not only prepared, having done his homework, he will be capable of encouraging, repairing, and defending God's people. Yahowah's associate Chazak embodies the character, courage, and authority, even the vocal strength, to guide Daud's flock in the proper direction. He is also adept at blowing the shofar. When it comes to Mashal painting pictures with words and leading God's people, Daud was rivaled only by Mose. However, in favor of the herald, he is the one tasked with Mashal vividly communicating how to approach God at this time. He has been empowered by the 7 spirits of Yahowah to Mashal explain the proverbs and parables in addition to sharing the wisdom of the prophets. He will Mashal be speaking in memorable ways and be fond of making comparisons, which is how he learns. Inspired by his king, he will draw word pictures while providing a narrative on God's testimony. He will also Mashal be ridiculing those who deserve contempt. In favor of the mightiest of men, Daud is Mashal a king, a strong leader, someone who wisely exercises 536 authority while governing with words. Daud exemplifies both aspects of Mashal, from being the author of the Mashal to being God's chosen king. The little Zeroah is nothing more than his apprentice. And speaking of the Zeroah, it is an amazing title with several legitimate definitions, all of which could apply to this prophetic pronouncement. Zeroah is most applicable to Daud as the protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb. But it is also used prophetically to speak of someone who is announcing his return, making this Zeroah a capable arm serving to guide the flock by sowing the seeds that will take root and grow into God's family. As we progress deeper into the prophecy, we find Yahowah asking his people to Hina pay attention to soccer the compensation associated with his contribution, noting that the appropriate response provides a just return. So while this could be Yah's way of sharing that he intends to reward his herald, I prefer to read it as saying that the return on his investment is the enrichment of God's family. But either way, Yahowah is pleased with his work, so much so that he has invited him to be present upon his return. Therefore, in the context of vocally announcing the timing and place of Yahowah's return, while preparing a previously unreceptive people for this extraordinary event, it is hard to discount the message voiced throughout Yada Yahowah. After all, if the intent were to ascribe these pronouncements to Dowd, he would have been named since it appears over 1,000 times when God wants us to appreciate what he had done for us. But there is more to it than this because, for the past 2,000 to 3,000 years, Yehudim have not just ignored Dowd's role as our savior, with all prophetic evidence to the contrary, they deny that he fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. They also reject him as the Son of God, the Chosen One, their returning Messiah and King. And in all 537 of that time, no one corrected them, explaining otherwise, until now. And that is worth acknowledging, even celebrating. Moreover, since Dowd is Yahuwah's beloved son, nothing brings him greater pleasure than affording him credit for all he has done. Therefore, the reason this voice is important is based entirely upon who he is addressing and what he has to say about him. Yahuwah called Dowd to shepherd his flock and Dowd called Yahuwah, my shepherd. God has strong and capable arms and he selected 3 Zeroah, 2 profoundly important and the other as a herald, to serve his people. So, determining who he is in this next statement necessitates knowing if Yahuwah is addressing what transpires prior to and upon his return or if he is addressing one of our king's roles throughout the eternity which follows. We know that, after the announcement has been made by the designated voice, Yahuwah will return with Dowd, so, it may be time to tend the flock. But are God and King gathering and shepherding the flock or are they delegating this responsibility to another covenant member, especially at this time? Like Ka, a shepherd, Raa, he will tend, Raa, care for the needs of, leading, feeding, and protecting, his flock, Ederhu, those who need his assistance. He will gather, Kabats, he will collect and obtain, Peel imperfect, the lambs, Tali, the young and vulnerable kids, the recent offspring of the adult lambs, in his strong and capable arms, shepherding, guiding, and protecting them, Ba Zeroah, who, with all the resolve and overall ability he can muster as an influential and impactful individual of action who, as a ram among sheep, is a leader and fighter, engaged within the flock as a shepherd protecting the sheep, fruitful in his ways. Accomplishing the mission, especially when sowing the seeds which advance the purpose of the arm of God and his sacrificial lamb. 538 He will guide, leading, Nahal, he will direct, sustain, and nurture, caring for and helping, those who are being nursed, Yul, the recently born and youngest sheep being suckled, lifting them up, Nasa, raising and carrying them, honoring and respecting them, in his lap, Ba check. Yashayah/Yahowah delivers/Isaiah 40 verse 11. As we enter the 1,000-year celebration of Sukkot camping out with God, there will be distinctions between individuals. Some number of thousands will be spiritual beings who have returned following the Shabuah and Towrah harvests. The stars of this day will be the acclaimed remnant of Yisraelites and Yehudim who were appropriately prepared for Yahuwah's return. And while now included within the covenant family, they will retain both physical and spiritual qualities throughout the prolonged Sukkah Shabat. And since none of these individuals will have come to know Yah for more than 10 days, they will be spiritual babes requiring nurturing. Since Zeroah is such an essential element of this prophecy, let's consider the introduction to what is among the most acclaimed prophecies. It speaks of someone to whom Yahuwah has made this realization known. It acknowledges the existence of an individual who has uniquely ascertained and conveyed the identity of these Zeroah. Especially relevant, the sole reason that this man is mentioned at this moment is that by seeking to establish the point of the prophetic portrayal Yahuwah was conveying through Yashayah, his analysis and insights were so uncommon that his identity became relevant because he was the first to identify Dowd as the Passover lamb. Who, has come to establish, verify, and prove, Aman, has reliably, confidently, and dependably demonstrated as true, the point of our message from far away, Lashamuah and Aknu, reporting the information and news from Yashayah and Yahuwah, 539 while in a different geographical area, and then announcing it to others. And, to whom, Almai, have the Zeroah, protective shepherd, sacrificial lamb, and the one productively sowing the seeds which will take root and grow as the arm, Zeroah, of Yahuwah, been revealed and made known, Gala, been openly exposed through evidence and reason. Yashayah/Isaiah 53 verse 1. In this, Yada alone qualifies. The same is true with what follows. And both are important only because Yahuwah wants you to listen to what he has to say about him, his son, the covenant, the invitations, and the timing. Reinforcing his identity, Shalomo Solomon, Dowd's son, also reinforced this connection between this latter-day witness and his recognition that Dowd served as the primary Zeroah, protective shepherd and sacrificial lamb. During the dedication of Yahuwah's family home, the preeminent event in the life of a united Yisrael, while standing atop Moriah with Yaakov's descendants gathered before him, Shalomo transitioned from addressing the promises Yahuwah had made to his father, Dowd David, to the Nakri. A discerning foreigner from a distant place and time speaking a different language, who, as a result of being observant, would come to understand. He advised future generations of the children of Yisrael how they should respond to the words this person would write on their behalf. Therefore, Wagam, regarding the Nakri observant and discerning foreigner from a different ethnicity and geographic location, who will come to understand, Nakri, someone from a different place and culture, speaking a different language, who, having paid attention, will comprehend, from Nakr, to become acquainted, recognize, and acknowledge something which deserves the highest regard and respect by being attentive and astute, who, to show the way to the benefits of the 540 relationship. Asher, is not of your people, lo, min, am, Ada, this Yisrael who, he will come, Bao, from a faraway country in a distant time, min, Eretz Rachok, for the express purpose of being a witness and providing answers regarding, Laman, your, Ada, tremendous, Hagadao, name, Shem, and your hand, Yad, Ada, as the influential, empowered, and resolute defender, Hachazak, and, as one sowing the seeds which will take root and grow, Zeroah, whom you have extended. Ada Haneda. When he arrives on the scene to pursue this, Bao, then, he will help interested parties reconcile their relationship by providing the information needed to make a reasoned decision, Palo, regarding the family, El HaBeith Hazeh. Dabrim Hayamim 632. When you hear it out of the heavens, coming from the atmosphere, listen to what comes out of the spiritual realm by way of the sky, wa ada shama min hashamayim, within the location where you live, min makon yashab ada, then engage and act accordingly, choosing of your own accord to do everything, wa asaka kol, which, to show the way, Asher, the Nakri observant foreigner from a different ethnicity and geographic location who understands, this man from another place and culture, speaking a language other than Hebrew, who is uniquely discerning, Ha-Nakri, has invited you to read, Kara el-Ada, for the express purpose of being a witness, who provides answers such that, Laman, all peoples of the earth, Kol, and Ha-Eretz, will have a genuine and ongoing opportunity to become familiar with Yada, to know, acknowledge, accept, and understand, Yada, your name, Eth Shem Ada, coming to respect and revere you, Wala Yair Eth Ada, simultaneously along with, Ka, your people. Ata, Yisrael, Yisrael. And also, so that, Wala, they may know, Yada, 541 that, truthfully, KY, your family and this house, Al-Ha-Beth Hazeh, which to reveal the correct path to walk to give life meaning that, Asher, I have built for the family, Bana, are designated and called, Kara, by your name, Shem Ada. Dabrim Hayaumim / Words of the Days / 2 Chronicles 6 verse 33. This is something God wants his people to know and accept. And it is long past time that the world, especially Yisrael, listens to what Yahowah has to say. And so God equipped an otherwise ordinary individual to speak on his behalf to facilitate the Shabuah and Towrah harvests. This is how he made this possible for you. A relatively insignificant stem, choder, a small shoot or secondary branch, a slender stick or twig, a tiny sprout or stem, a pliable wooden implement as a measure or standard, a secondary source of growth serving as a living entity delivering progeny, even a less productive sucker who becomes an observant individual who is willing to listen and who is committed to thinking while collecting the things he values as an unrestrained extension, will be extended, Yatza, he will be brought forth. To serve, out of, min, the stump which has been cut down and yet is still capable of supporting new growth, gaza, of ishe to stand out and be noticed, drawing attention to the substance of existence, ishe, as, wa, an observant branch, netzer, a secondary stem or shoot which extends from a primary limb, from natsar, to observe, watch over, and preserve, to closely look after, focus on, and protect, by means of, min, its roots and that which keeps it anchored, steadfast, and nourished. Sheresh hu. Such that he will continually bear an abundance of fruit, being productive while encouraging productivity in others, para. Yashayah / Isaiah 11 verse 1. This is because, Wa, the spirit, Ruach, the divine power, influence, and energy, the mind and essence, the feminine touch and understanding, the maternal 542 acceptance and support, the protection and light, especially the faculty to respond, of Yahowah, will settle and remain on him, because she was placed upon him and will energize him, dwelling and residing in him, Nuach Alhu, the spirit, Ruach, providing the capacity to comprehend and teach, Chakma, offering the mental aptitude and wisdom to instruct, comprehension derived from the technical expertise to do what is required to impart understanding and to educate, from Chakam, and, Wa, enable understanding by making connections to reveal insights, Bina. Facilitating the propensity to ponder and process information, to be perceptive by being discerning, discriminating, and judgmental, making intelligent associations which lead to a conceptual understanding, revealing how to react and respond to life situations after full and thoughtful consideration. The spirit, Ruach, of advice and counsel, Etza, of pertinent directions regarding how to properly respond, providing prudent consultation on the purpose of the proposal, delivering effective mentoring on how to deliberate relevant decisions, and of being emboldened and inspiring, Wagabura, on how to be a strong, courageous leader who is empowering, able to accomplish the mission and perform until it is complete, providing the aptitude and capability to confirm what is true, offering the mental discipline to be unwavering, championing the cause with courage, character, and confidence, to excel by being upright, always fighting to defend God's people and affirm their rights, the spirit, Ruach, of knowing and knowledge, the ADH. Of recognizing where to look for answers and acquiring information, of being aware of the evidence and being able to discern what is relevant and accurate, of discriminating between fact and fiction and right and wrong, so as to recognize and acknowledge the truth, from Yada, to learn and to know, to recognize and acknowledge, to consider and comprehend, and to become acquainted and personally familiar, so as, Wa, to respect 543 and revere, Yaira, to appreciate the awesome nature, outstanding character, superlative ability, and astonishing greatness and be inspired by, Yahowah. Yashayah / Isaiah 11 verse 2. Therefore, Wa, it will not be by an appearance or vision, lo lamera, seen with his eyes, Einhu, of his own perceptions or personal understanding, that he will decide, Shapat, that he will confront the evidence and should judge, making decisions. Also, Wa, it will not be by hearsay, lo la mishma, not by rumors or innuendo, not by word of mouth or that which is passed around person to person, nor by listening to information which cannot be verified, heard by him listening to others, Ozenhu, that he will make judgments or prove his arguments, Yakok. Yashayah / Isaiah 11 verse 3. He will exercise good judgment, Washapat, adjudicating the matter by resolving disputes, by, ba, seeking to be accurate, honest, and forthright, Sedek, being fair and correct, in accord with the truth, avoiding inconsistency with the established standard, with regard to opening the doorway for the discerning, Dao. He will provide proof using sound arguments, Yakak, he will use evidence and reason to decide, to judge and correct, engaging in dialogue to resolve disputes while criticizing, accusing, and condemning, making the case to vindicate or convict, with, ba, everything out in the open, doing so fairly, Mishor, by putting everything on the table, on the level, nothing hidden, justly and equitably in a very forthright and direct manner, on behalf of, La, the sincere who are seeking straightforward Answers, Anah, those who are unpretentious and willing to respond but who need some assistance from a witness with answers to their questions who is constantly thinking about making such declarations. From Anna, to answer and respond, to seek and receive answers, and to testify as a witness, of the land and 544 material realm, Eretz. Yashayah/Isaiah 11 verse 4. Even this isn't the end of the story but a prelude to. Then, your family, YMADH, will be entirely right, Kol Tzadik. They will be heirs to the land, Hem Yerash Eretz, forevermore, La Aulam, because this observant sprout and shoot, indeed this sucker from the original rootstock preserving the life of the tree, Netzer, this new growth emerging from an old stump which rises to the next generation, this extension grafted into the main branch which can be used as an implement to spare lives by revealing that which was not readily known. From Natsar, to be observant, watchful, and trustworthy, to guard, protect, and preserve, is the one which Yahowah planted, Hamada, Yahowah, the work and accomplishment of his hands, Ma'aseh Yedhu, to endow a higher status through clarifying explanations, Lapayar, to honor and show appreciation for this marvelous outcome as the fruit of the harvest is beautifully adorned. Yashayah/Isaiah 60 verse 21. That which is determined and readily known, Hakatan, the simple truth of this moment in time, will be, Haya, magnified 1,000-fold, Laha, Aleph, will become abundantly productive, and the child with older siblings, Waha Tsayir, the more recent addition to the existing family and their servant, will be an accomplished and effective Gentile, Gawi, but some, will be an empowered, strong, and potent individual of a different ethnicity. I, Yahowah, Yahowah, am prepared to accomplish this quickly, Chush High, at the proper time, Eth High, during the right moment on the calendar. Yashayah/Isaiah 60 verse 22. Yashayah is elevating the Towrah from a sucker growing out of the rootstock from which doubt emerged, from someone who would need everything Yahowah could provide just to be functional, to a Netzer, an observant 545 secondary branch who will play a role in preserving the tree that will embody a restored Yisrael. These clarifying explanations lead to the Shabuah and Towrah harvests of God's people. The Ruach spirit, Ruach, of Yahowah, is upon me, Al-Eni. For this reason, Yahowah, Yahowah, has anointed, Mashak, he has designated, appointed, and devoted by setting apart, that which is associated with me, Eni, for the purpose of bringing this proclamation as a herald, La Basar, this positive and uplifting message, to the unpretentious and sincere and those ready to respond, Anah, those who have been oppressed and are now receptive, eager to move forward by replying to these answers. He has sent me, Shalak, he dispatched me at this time, to encourage, Chabash, to enliven, speaking the words which bandage and gird, those whose judgment has suffered, La Shabar Leb, whose desires have been shattered and whose thinking has been thwarted, to provide an invitation, Kara, to proclaim a summons, reading and reciting an announcement to be called out, to be liberated, Deror, to be emancipated and free to move about without constraint, to those who are being controlled, La Shabah, who are being led away and oppressed, whose freedoms have been confiscated, and to those who are obligated and bound, Wallah Basar, to those who have sworn an oath of allegiance and who have joined in, a means of release, Bakach Kawach, an opening, a means to extricate oneself from the influence of other, Yashayah 61:1, to issue an invitation, Lakara, to read and recite a summons to be called out and meet, to the year, Shana, the time of renewal, of Yahowah's, Yahowah. Approval and acceptance. Ratzon, favor and reward, and the day, Yaum, of the vengeance and retribution, Nakam, of repayment and recompense, of our God, La Elohim Anaknu, to comfort and console 546, Nakam, to show sympathy and provide solace, consolation, and relief, showing compassion to all who mourn, Kol Abel, Yashayah 61:2, to provide, La Sim, for those who grieve, Abel, for Tzion, for the signs posted along the way, to give to them, La Nathan Lahem, an honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, Payar, instead of, Takhath, ashes as if insignificant, Epher, olive oil, Shemen, resulting in gladness, Sason, instead of, Takhath, mourning over the dead, Ebel, garments of adoration, Ma'ate Tehillah, instead of, Takhath, a dark and obscure, weakening, Ka, spirit, Ruach. Then, they may be invited and called out as, Karaf Lahem, leaders of the flock who represent the doorway, Isle, the sheep, ram, and the doorposts, the pivot point, of being right and vindicated, Tzedek, of being correct and acquitted, affirmed and validated, honest and just, upright, accurate, and fair, the basis of which was established by, Mada, being placed and planted in the garden by, Yahowah, Yahowah, to approach the honorable endowment which provides an opportunity to be lifted up, La Payar. Yashayah/Isaiah 61 verse 3. Accept what Yahowah is offering. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Continue reading.